This has been a long time of waiting. It has felt like a long time since Peter Capaldi, a long time since Russell T Davies was announced as returning, and 2 years since Ncuti Gatwa was revealed as the 15th Doctor. As season 14, or season 1 dawns, with a great American input fueled by American dollars and Disney's streaming capacity, many fans wondered whether the Doctor Who would be able to stay quintessentially British. Russell T Davies, self-appointed gatekeeper in the media and custodian of Doctor Who, previously an award-winning writer, clearly has a dangerous tightrope to walk. One false move and the show could be lost, and the Disney contract and the BBC interest diminished or even gone. Get it right, and Doctor Who dominates the global market like some Hollywood franchise. It's not an envious task. Does he pull it off with this new season of 8 episodes? Will Doctor Who be turned into a slapstick, end-of-pier, silly novelty piece, just as the whole world's eyes are open to Doctor Who, and hopefully its magic and its uniqueness? Will the frequent, confronting interviews from cast and crew and the joyous delving into Doctor Who lore, like the Timeless Children, prove a masterstroke, or leave Doctor Who fans across the globe and online fighting like cats in a sack, arguing over whose show it is, and who owns it, and who it's for? And I'm a real fan, you're not. This is certainly an historic, possibly seminal moment for our favourite show. With that in mind, there is only one stream, one panel where you cannot predict or guess the responses and views. You're in the right place. Do you want to come with us? Well, then I should warn you, you're going to hear all sorts of things. It won't be quiet, it won't be safe, and it won't be calm. But I'll tell you what it will be, a debate of a lifetime. Let's start reviewing. Well, club click every trip, it almost sounds like, but I can't go any more with that one. Where do Doctor Who fans go when they really need some kind of sustenance here? And I'm hoping it's our channel. Where it isn't is somewhere else, and I'm going to tell you about that. I mean, when Doctor Who fans have peace, it seems to me at the moment RTD brings discord. Where Doctor Who fans feel happy, may RTD bring disharmony. Where Doctor Who fans understand their show, RTD seems badly out of tune with it. I mean, did this episode create a sweet symphony of Doctor Who magic or a screeching, scraping bum note for you? Now, we've got our Bernie issue, and will it be Maestro? We will judge the episode, is it true Who or boohoo? We will judge the episode, did it engage, basically? Did it scare you? Did it entertain you? Judge the episode on whether the producers knew what they were doing. We asked, did the reviewers get it right? An item reviewing Devil's Chord from the review experts. And I asked, what was the Russell hustle in this episode? What is the Susan twist? And what clues are there in the narrative arc? So, of course, to do that, I do need a panel. And as you may have seen yesterday, I embarrass my panel no end. So get ready for this. My God, new item, so to speak. But yeah, I'll bring them on. You'll know and love them. Here we go. Okay, let's get Sean on. There he is. It's cinnamon floor. There you go.
I'm raving.
We'll be winning. There. Oh. Wake up there. There you go. And there's Rachael. Because as we said with these Hollywood ceremonies, that's what they do. They just cut it dead, don't they? Now,
it's the only horror ceremony I'll ever get.
I have a question about that opening.
Yes.
Was that Rachel's home movies as a young girl when she's on the high wire? Was that you, Rachael?
Yeah. It was such skill, right?
No, high wire, I know. So welcome everybody. The Devil's Chord, beauty of an episode to talk about for reviewers. It's a gift, isn't it? We also have, hold on, we've got a guest star, a really big star. We might be talking about this guest star in the burning issue in a moment, everybody. But here, well, I don't know, is it he, she, or them?
I can hear you.
Oh, there! Oh! Here's Jinkx Monsoon. Here we go. The puppet can drag.
Maestro, if you don't mind.
What the hell's this? If John Daly were on, he'd say it was somebody who was used to be in Crossroads. He was a chef. What the hell? Look at this. Look at that. Mrs. Slocum pink hair. Look at that.
There you go. That's right.
It's not a monsoon. It's more like a damp drizzle.
The reason I have never done drugs is to avoid experiences like this.
Well,
You've never done drag.
it does work. He's getting drag and look.
First
We've got
demo.
the mustache. We've got the mustache. Got the dress. Got the pink hair. Got the odd judgy hairdo. Yeah, that's very good.
Already doing a better job than the entire episode.
Grandad, what are you dressing like that for? What the hell?
Well,
Don't tell your grandmother.
yeah, don't tell your grandma. She'd get a shock if she came home now.
I'm shocked as well. I can't believe this. My granddad.
Hold on, you're woke. You're wokey. You're supposed to like this.
I do, but I learned from being a space baby yesterday.
Yeah, he's only just got back. He found some shore for refugees. Off you go now.
Come on, Grandad.
Yeah, I think Grandma's coming back. You better get sorted. She'll go mad.
Bye
Right.
all.
Gosh,
Get her heels off.
I know. Yeah, I think that marriage is over. So, I think we're ready for you know what? Burning issue. After that, you're probably going, I need to lie down. Right. Let's start with our burning issues. So, does anybody want to start? It might be a quiet show, really.
Yeah, I'd like to start.
It's nice weather out there.
It is. I don't worry, Thread. Don't you worry. I'm going to start with Maestro or Jinkx Monsoon. I'm going to start with that because I have to say it's the elephant in the room, so to speak. Everybody in every stream is talking about it. And why would Doctor Who fans be any different on this stream? Because there's a lot to say about Maestro. There's a lot to say about Jinkx Monsoon. Obviously, burning issues is any problems with that performance or that character. Does anybody want to start rather than just a moi?
Jeremy, would you like to start or shall I?
I thought it was the worst performance that any actor has ever performed and graced on this show over the 60 odd years. I mean, forget Paul Darrow and Joseph First. This was absolutely appalling.
take us through, Jeremy, an example, just to be fair, because this is what we need to do. I know the streams just like to have a little kind of go at it, but let's be honest. What was it about it? Because that's the key.
I think it was just over the top. I mean, when I say it was over the top, I mean it was stratospherically over the top. I mean, this business sort of, I'm them, all of this carry on. I mean, it was just absolutely ridiculous. And why the director didn't say just tone it down.
Wow.
I mean, if it had been played by a different actor and played it differently, I think it could have been really, really good. If it had been slightly underplayed, but this performance was just so real and just completely out of it.
Yeah. So, Rachel, as a actress, what would you like to say on Maestro?
On Maestro, well, Jeremy hit the nail on the head. It was OTT. Now, obviously, I'll never say an actor is bad or one-dimensional because I've been there and I've done that, got the hat, t-shirt and clogs, everything that goes with it. And it is the director's responsibility to actually pull something like that back. I will get into it a bit later because I will go into Jinkx more later. The other thing that I've got to say about Maestro, it should have been played by a woman. Shouldn't have been played by a drag queen. And the pronoun policing added absolutely nothing to it. I get enough of that when I go and do acting jobs. I don't need to experience it whilst I'm watching something that I really just want to be entertained by. So I have burning issues with that.
I understand that we got, and if people haven't watched us before, we don't, you worry, we go into lots of detail on this one, but burning issues is our headline, so to speak. But Rachel, I'll come back to you on one just to kind of elaborate. When you said about this should have been played by a woman, you might as well say now, because as I watched that, go on, you say.
Okay, so the thing about this character is that it's very clear that it's written with womanly wiles intentions in mind. And it's written as cunning. And I think women have a better experience and understanding of how that effectively works. And so therefore will be able to portray it a lot better. That's what I think. And I just, it just didn't work having a drag queen in this role.
Wouldn't it have also been better if the performance had been slower and then build up to a crescendo right at the end?
Yeah.
And rather than come in straight away with that sort of performance and maintain it and keep still building up, it was just bizarre. Absolutely bizarre.
And as Melanie, I apologize, as Melanie Weston Investigates says, and I'm going to try and keep bringing the thread in because there's so much to say. Plus Henry, that little kid who's the son of Maestro, says mother. So, of course, if I'm a casual viewer who's not an expert on the gender critical debate and all the rest of it, I would just be very, very confused by a Doctor Who episode where I'm sat there maybe as mum or dad of some kids and I'm going, what? And then, it just adds more problems to a family watching Saturday entertainment.
It's all right, Brendan. Nobody watched it. You're fine. Nobody watched it.
Yeah, we'll talk about the ratings later as well, won't we? But yes, everybody's enjoying the sun. Apparently,
this was just. I don't know who this person is. I haven't got a clue. I take them as I find them. I thought again with everything I've seen in Russell T Davies's new run, you felt like what annoys me most is there's a germ of a good idea there. Or a good, and it just gets steamrolled, and it was just incredibly poor. It was over the top, and I've watched real drag. I can't even say it. I've seen real drag queens on stage. Miss Rory springs to mind. They like this. What they didn't lean into that. They just had. I don't know. Like Rachel said, I don't know what, and you said, Brendan, I don't know what they were trying to do, and it was. I just found it. I just didn't get it. But it was a poor performance. It's not about who they are, what they are. I don't care. I just want a good Doctor Who episode.
When you read what the producers say, you read RTD's show notes in the magazine, and you see all the interviews, and you see Julie Gardner as well say that Jinkx Monsoon absolutely tore the scene apart and was so big and fantastic.
You mean chewed the scenery up?
Yes, true. And the thing is, Jeremy, that they say that as if they are very pleased with exactly what they got. And they
Yes.
said Jinkx Monsoon got off the plane, knew the notes, did it. We were stunned.
And that's part of the problem. That's part of the problem, that they're happy with it.
But sometimes an OTT performance can leave you flabbergasted, like, and not necessarily for the right reasons. So we have to ask, is it for the right reasons that they were floored by it, or is it because it was just so OTT they just didn't know what to say in order to get a control on it?
But the problem is, how is anybody going to go up to Russell T Davies and say, look, I think this is a bit OTT, I think they should tone it down a bit, and Russell T Davies say, nobody tells me what to do.
Oh, he would do that for sure.
Oh,
And
yeah.
of course, the other issue, Gary, is that we hear that, you know, RTD is friends with the boyfriend or husband of Jinkx Monsoon. Without me getting into all the politics of it, because we want to talk about loving Doctor Who and when Doctor Who falls short and how it should be better and all the rest of it. But he keeps bringing politics into it. And the politics here is he had a friend who's married to or is going out with Jinkx Monsoon. They kind of had the same circles. He met Jinkx Monsoon, thought, do you know what? I think I've got my next villain. And just like that. So this role, this episode is written for Jinkx Monsoon. No auditions, no nothing. And so, as Rachel's saying, we don't need women. As Garbage was saying earlier, you know, there's no need for women anymore, it seems, in RTD's world. And now we get this situation where RTD wants this larger-than-life pantomime dame sort of thing, or as a lot of people have said, a Disney version of Ursula, that kind of thing. Then you have this problematic idea that she's had sex or he's had sex because he has a kid. And why are we going there, Gary?
The problem, now, this was the first time I'd ever seen Jinkx Monsoon in anything, and please, dear God, let it be the last. But keep confining my comments to the character and the way it was played. Big problem that I had is that it was the word you just used, Brendan. It was pantomime. Problem with that is it was so over the top, and that the performance just basically sucked all the oxygen out of the room in every single scene she was in and didn't leave any space for anybody else. That's fine if you are actually on a pantomime stage where the audience is out there, way out there, and you have to play to the rear seats, and you can do the pantomime acting and all of that. But television is a far more intimate medium. You're sitting right there. It's more personal, and this kind of over the top, in your face acting just doesn't work. And it was the problems were compounded by the fact that you had this, and I'm sure we'll talk about this later, this ongoing breaking of the fourth wall all throughout the episode, and specifically about Jinkx and the Maestro first playing the piano and then kind of leans over and looks at the camera and then smiles and then starts playing the meta theme tune. And then when she is chasing the Doctor, that the zoom in as she turns and looks right to the camera, and then as she breaks into the old woman's house and kills the old woman, she smiles and winks to us before. So that completely takes you out of the drama and sabotages whatever drama, I guess, that RTD maybe wants to build in, because it's a pantomime act. It's not a drama anymore.
When I first started talking about Jinkx Monsoon a year ago on another channel, it was the outfit I had a problem with, because it just looked like cartoon. So my worry was there that this looked like it was larger than life. And I like Doctor Who when it tries to be kind of serious, and there'll be a bit of a joke within the dialogue, but it takes itself seriously. Otherwise, it's lost. So Cinnamon, we've got two issues have been mentioned so far. We've got Maestro, Jinkx Monsoon's character and how it was played. And we've also got, if you've got a pantomime villain, And then on top of that, you're breaking the fourth wall, as Gary just said. Who in the audience watching that can take it seriously?
As everyone's been talking, I've been trying to, obviously I've got my thoughts, but I've been trying to take on a lot of what everyone else is saying. And Rachael said something that struck a chord with me. The fact that this is a very effeminate character, or certainly played seems effeminately. And I think even in Doctor Who magazine, in the disastrous interview with Jinkx, she even mentions he, she, whatever. It even speaks about, saying it non-binary, femme, whatever the new words are coming out with. So she said femme. So that adds credence to Rachel's point. Maybe she may as well have played a woman, or had a woman to play it, rather than just a mate. I spoke before, didn't I, about how I said, oh, she seems like she'd grate on me. When actually watching it, she didn't grate on me, but definitely over the top. I think, sir, a lot of people, for goodness sake, I think she's got to be the most overhyped villain in Doctor Who. I'm seeing articles and everyone absolutely showering her in praise, but I don't see why. I think a lot of people are confusing loudness and in your face and obviousness, if that's even a word, as good. Again, when you see something that's so striking and so wow in your face, and oh wow, so over the top, you confuse that as good. And it's funny to me because when John Sim toned up the Master and heightened his insanity in the End of Time, a lot of people criticise that. So it's an issue when John Sim is over the top, but it's amazing when Jinkx does it. And all this. Again, I hadn't even thought of it like that. But again, sucking the energy out of a room, I wouldn't disagree with that. And I feel like she upstaged. Now, even just, I think I'm coming to my thoughts now. Even just saying it, I feel like she upstaged Ncuti, and I don't think, and that's saying something because Ncuti is as well that upbeat, kind of loud, kind of bold, imposing. He demands screen presence, but I like it when he does it because he justifies it. Where and it takes some doing. It's some high bar to outperform Ncuti, and Jinkx is able to do that, and it suffers, and it's not a good thing, and it didn't work for me. That
yeah,
it didn't work.
Sean, it's breaking, I think, a lot of acting etiquette, isn't it? This, as Cinnamon has just said, Ncuti is still establishing himself in the role. So is Millie Gibson, and if every scene is being dominated by this massive thing, and I'm saying thing because it's a pantheon, it's a god, it's something. It doesn't seem fair, but also I want to be fair, Sean, and see what you think about it. A few people in the thread have said, well, what about Anthony Ainley? What about, we've had times in the 1980s when some of the acting was a little bit ham. I remember the Horns of Nyman, don't know everybody, with the, is it Graham Crowder?
Yeah.
Everyone
that's over the top. Well.
Yeah, you have moments. Yeah, the moment in Underwater Menace.
Nothing in the world can stop me now.
Exactly.
You have to say it right.
Yes,
nothing can survive can stop me now.
Because that scene creates the Second Doctor because of that character was Zaroff or whatever was so over the top.
Yeah,
Troughton underplayed it, so he was clever in that way. And that's why we get this trope of the Second Doctor being a little bit of a bumbling buffoon, but really he's quite cunning, he's calculated.
Except you're right to say that, Cinnamon. Except poor Patrick. Sorry, why did I say poor Patrick Troughton? Patrick Troughton was not fighting the fourth wall being broken as well. Sean, where do you stand on this one? Because people are saying, for example, I'll just say it now. The Rani was a bit camp. I love Kate O'Mara.
It's not the. You look back at British television. We love a bit of camp. Dear God, look at game shows in the 90s, the early 2000s. We love a bit of camp. Shut that door. All that you go back and back. We love a bit of camp. We don't mind it at all. Look at what they were. I felt like what they were trying to do with whatever. What the hell? The Maestro, right? What they were trying to do was kind of like a John Delancey as Q. But the problem is, you need somebody who can act. The same with Ncuti. The same with Millie Gibson. I don't know if they can act because they've not given anything to work with. Going back to what you were saying, Cinnamon, I'm sorry, everyone. I'm going to have a bit of a rant and then I'm done. I'll just sit back and relax. I don't know what this was. It feels like season 11 all over again. it's now in the grand scheme of things. Sorry, that was a bit northern, but it's boring. It's colourful rubbish. They've got nothing left, cinnamon. That's what you want. They've got nothing left, but like, oh well, here's someone dead over the top. I mean, there's over the top and then there's over the top, but it was so boring. Quick, throw some musical numbers in there. It's the proverbial throw something at the wall and see if something sticks. There's just nothing there. I didn't think it could get any worse than Chibnall. I thought, no, it can't get any worse. I mean, he was a poor showrunner, cramming in politics and also trying to come up with a new twist on the origin of the Doctor, right? But it felt as if he was at least trying. I mean, it's a bit, I felt he's trying. He's just not really quite there. The kid in the class who knows heart's in the right place. He's really trying, but he just doesn't have it. Bless him. It's that fair enough. You can take that. But this, I don't know what this is. I don't know what it is. I've no interest. Somebody asked me, "Oh, you're watching this series?" Well, for this, I'm watching it for Brendan. I'm watching it for you. That's all I'm watching it for. I was so bored. I was so bored watching this. I crammed this in on Saturday night. No, hang on. Sunday night. No, Saturday night after going to Harry Potter Studios, right? And it was a great day. And I crammed these in because I was busy yesterday. And dear God,
grateful.
What a come down that was.
Yeah.
Like it was horrendous. But it's it's not even like, oh, it's really over the top and it's not quite Doctor Who. This is just boring, asinine, infantile rubbish. That's all it is. Throw all you want. It's absolutely awful. If you think it was great, good for you. But unfortunately, there's only about 2 million of you, and it's dropping and dropping and dropping and dropping. And you can throw all you want. The grass is nice. There's loads of butterflies out there. Be careful not to stand on them. All this. It's fine. Throw all the ideas and all the there's a bit of a thing in that, but this should not. When Eurovision gets 7 or 8 million. I mean, dear God, really? Sorry, I'm done. I'm going now. Bye.
Yeah, we will do the ratings.
I just want to say, I'll argue all day with anybody who actually thinks that the two Ronnie stories that Kate O'Mara's Ronnie was anywhere close to what this was. Because I said before, I have to go back to the fourth wall stuff. When Jinkx, right after she dematerializes that one guy and then smiles right to the camera, or when chasing the Doctor, smiles to the camera, and then when she's about to kill the old lady and winks. Basically, what she's saying is, "Look, I know it's a joke. I'm winking you. You're in on the joke. It's all a joke. It's just like a lot of fun. It's RTD being insufferably smug and saying, 'Aren't I clever?' But basically, when we're brought into it, it's all like, we're all just having a laugh. I'm about to kill this woman, but we know it's just kind of silly." That's what it becomes. So that was...
And that was, I think I mentioned this last night, but it wasn't really about Space Babies. It was more about this one. When they got changed in the TARDIS, and again, we're going to do the details of the episode, but of course, I'm wanting people to give examples. So one that comes to mind, Gary, is that they go and get changed to be in very 60s garb, and they have a swagger. And we've got the California Love playing, haven't we? Which is out of time with the period, because I thought it was 67, 68 or whatever. And this is supposed to be 63. So the music wasn't apt anyway. Hugh helped us with that one. They had a swagger. And my issue with the great chemistry of Millie Gibson and Ncuti is they look so happy with each other. They are interacting with each other, but it's not reaching beyond the fourth wall. But what is breaking the fourth wall is the nudges and winks, the do-do-do-do-do-do on the piano to break into the theme tune, then the jukebox playing the theme tune, then that nonsense at the end when the TARDIS decides it wants to be part of the spectacular and it opens the door to release the last note. What is going on? This is ridiculous. Why am I spending 1 hour, 40 minutes before the Eurovision, which takes half your night up anyway, watching this? I could imagine people in British homes thinking, I cannot do 6 hours of this. Doctor Who, then Eurovision. It's one or the other. And as you know, and we will do the ratings later, it won the Eurovision, not this one. But no, breaking the fourth wall is criminal. It is criminal. You cannot do that.
Yeah.
The Doctor and Ruby in this episode, not talking about Space Babies, the Doctor and Ruby in this episode were the 10th Doctor and the 10th Doctor and Rose all throughout season 2. Smug, self-righteous, better than anybody else in the galaxy, arrogant, they can do whatever they want, whatever. That was the character in these 2 episodes. I do want to very quickly say, since you mentioned the clothing change at the top of the show, that was one of the only 2 positives I had in the show, because I thought for 1 second that we were seriously going to get like a Pretty Woman-esque clothing montage of them changing the clothes. And so I appreciated that small blessing that we didn't have to endure them trying on a lot of clothes to some backbeat.
Rachel, what do you want to say about their chemistry?
Yeah. So I didn't notice it so much in Space Babies, but I did notice it when I watched this one. And I actually think the chummy relationship that they're doing on screen feels a little bit unnatural. It feels a bit forced. I don't know if that's the writing. I don't know if that's an acting choice, but there's something extremely fake about it. I picked that up on that just in that one.
Now, because we've just quickly touched on burning issues, I now want us to do another item, which is the Russell Hustle. This is, what is Russell up to? What is he really doing here at the moment with each episode? So I'm just going to set us up, and you will see it in action. So yeah, I'm asking about Russell's hustle, so to speak. What is, in Space Babies, it was refugees, it was pro-life, and he went heavily on all that lot. And as we said last night, especially in the last half hour, we really went to town on that. Now, if I ask my panelists, and I ask the thread, was everybody happy with what Russell was trying to raise in this episode? Did he tone it down? Was it much better? So with the Russell Hustle, does anyone want to call out Russell T Davies' politics here, or where he went a bit errant?
I don't really talk about politics, but I watched that first episode and surprised a lot of people who listen to the podcast by tweeting out saying that, I had a few issues, but overall I felt there was something to work with, and I didn't hate it, although I felt it was Thunderpants-esque, but that's a bit of a niche reference. But it was very, very strange. It was, wasn't it? And it was not the best day of my life ever. It was not. It was. So I felt there was something to work with. I thought, there's a few bits where I thought, oh, okay, this, but again, I'm past the point of giving this show a second chance. And I read, you talk about Russell T Davies, and I probably should have mentioned it ages ago, but I've read The Writer's Tale, or A Writer's Tale, the big book he wrote about writing the series. And when you listen to that, and you read that, he talks about how he surprised a lot of friends by writing about how he's very insecure. Well, insecure is not the right word. In his ability to write, he leaves things till the last minute. He worries, is this the project where it all falls down? And everyone realizes it's like an imposter syndrome, but it doesn't get named. That's how it comes across. That's just my interpretation of a book. I don't know the guy. I'm not a psychologist or a psychiatrist, anything like that. And I kind of think, oh dear me, that this is, who knows? That was yours. That was in 2008. But I think if that's how he still feels now, then it's going to be a rough few months, because this is not getting the reaction they want. Because we know it's the same old thing over and over again. We see it. It happened during, Jodie Whittaker's run, Chibnall run. All that anybody ever kept saying, all the papers, all the TV reviews, Radio Times, everything was, this is amazing, this is amazing, this is amazing. And everybody else was going, is it really? Are you watching it? Is it me? Am I a bit mad? Really? Is it really? And now they're doing the same thing again, and and you just think, I'm past it now. Cancellation can't come quick enough, which I know is like, oh my God, come on. But no, really, stop it, end it. Let's
Well, regarding what was Russell doing wrong with this episode regarding any of his messaging, if I just open it up for somebody really to come in if they want. So we've had our go about Space Babies, but on this one, I thought it's that kind of twee idea that music can save the world, and without music, it's a dark world. And I had that whole element of the music of the spheres that we had at the proms that year. You know, he's reviving things. If John Daly was on, John Daly's criticism last night was RTD's repeating things from his first era. And it had that music of the spheres element, but it was that twee kind of, I don't know whether it's Disney, that music can solve everything. If only we had music. And of course, more plot-wise, Russell was doing that classic thing, which is the companion is the most important. He's following on from Stephen Moffat in a way with The Impossible Girl, and Ruby Sunday is the most amazing creature with music in them. This music thing going on and on and on. And I just thought, do you know what? The whole episode was built on this. And I know Michelle was on last night and did like a lot of this because she thought it was a lovely homage to the 60s and with a dance number at the end and all the rest of it. The trouble is, I just didn't think it fit the genre of Doctor Who. And it because of the breaking of the fourth wall and everything else, it didn't help. But Russell, again, his message is that music will see you through, and the Beatles will find themselves eventually. And I don't know.
Only two of them, though. Only two of them.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
two of them got the boot. The Beatles in this episode was a perfect example of Doctor Who.
The episode.
Well, it's all
They were
Cinnamon's all they've got
Beatles
left.
massively part of the magazine. I've got the cover down there at the bottom, and you know they were barely in it really for the most part. They were massively overhyped.
So did anyone see any message in there had any problems with?
No, the only thing that I picked up was a pronoun, which was, of course, when
Well,
Jinkx said it's them, you know, and I thought you've done this again. You know, why do you have to keep going over the
It
same
doesn't
ground,
make sense, though. Sorry, I didn't mean to
yeah.
interrupt. I'm sorry.
Yeah,
It doesn't
no.
make sense. Whatever your opinion on it, and I'm not going to get into mine because it's not the right environment for it. But I genuinely don't get. I mean, this is the 1920s. It was 1923, 1921, whatever it was.
1925, wasn't it?
Oh,
28 or 25, yeah.
It's somewhere in the 20s. I don't think even they knew. The guy's like, what? And he's saying, I'm them. And he's saying, you're who? Because at that time, it just meant, I don't know what you're talking about. Like, what? And you repeat out a piano. It was just such a strange.
And so, I mean,
everything
Rachel,
he was doing with the music in this created there were a lot of plot holes in the music aspect of it, which I'm sure we'll get to later. If I could kind of beg your indulgence maybe for about like 3 minutes, because this is the point where it is. I want to kind of borrow a note from Sean and kind of go on a little rant about this. It's about what Russell is doing. I think it's exemplified by this episode. When I was watching this episode last night, it was kind of like being hit in the face with a shovel to me. At first, I was kind of disoriented and in shock. And now this morning, I am recovered and I was just pissed off.
Yeah.
I mean, I really thought that I processed through all the 5 stages of grief over Doctor Who back in the Jodie era: denial, anger, bargaining, depression, acceptance. But this abomination kind of flung me right back into the anger stage.
Yeah.
To me, what RTD is doing is committing cultural vandalism. He's like those moronic.
Yes.
He's like those moronic climate activists who throw pumpkin soup on the Mona Lisa or who glue themselves to paintings in art museums. But it's much more insidious because RTD is doing this to influence kids who should never be exposed to this kind of stuff. I won't even bother to say shame on you, Russell, because he has no shame.
Mm.
He's reveling in his ability to convert Doctor Who into this kind of twisted grotesquerie that we're witnessing. This is far worse than anything Chris Chibnall ever did, because Chibnall was just an incompetent hack who was in over his head. But RTD is acting with malicious intent. I saw posters this morning on Facebook who say, but RTD is a great writer. He gave us great stories like Parting of the Way and Midnight. How long will people continue to cite what he did 15 to 20 years ago as cover to mitigate the wholesale destruction that he's committing now? I honestly don't give a rat's ass how good his stories might have been 2 decades ago in the face of all this. It's kind of like the local TV news reports when somebody goes on a rampage and kills their neighbors, and then they interview the residents about what he was like, and they all say he was a quiet man. And then if somebody plows their car through a crowd, it doesn't matter if they got an award from the Chamber of Commerce back in the 90s. You go by what they're doing right now. And I honestly don't care about the production quality thanks to all the Disney mega money that's being thrown when it's in service to something so grotesque. I mean, I can dismiss RTG's as in last night's show. I can dismiss RTD's injection of political commentary into Space Babies because it was just so pathetically oversimplistic, as we discussed, and ham-fisted. But this is way more dangerous. This is more than just kids. Use your pronouns. I'm sure RTD was particularly proud of the line that Jinkx says, where he goes, playing lovesick songs for heartbroken lesbians. And then and Jinkx said that with relish. The question of whether that's appropriate for a so-called family show is another matter. But it made me wonder, and I just say this straight without any bias, are there any heterosexual relationships at all in RTD's fantasy world? Any balance? Just balance? I'm guessing not, because I actually don't think he has any regard for them. And Russell, please stop trying to validate this stuff with references to Susan and Totter's Lane to suck up the classic fans who will like ooh and ah and squee that, you know, OMG, he mentioned Susan. How great is that?
See, Gary,
don't fall for that.
This is one of my problems with RTD at the moment, Gary, and it's that, you know, I mentioned last night, he gives you as a fan an emotional stepping stone. Then there's a gap of what you've mentioned, the pronouns, the this, the wokery, whatever. Then there's another little moment when we mention Susan and we go, oh, or we get a clue. We'll mention some of the twists and the clues that are being mentioned. In the end, he's not writing a good episode. He seems to be writing little kind of tidbits. He scatters confetti for Doctor Who fans to go, do you know what? I'll give it another week. I'll stay with it. Because as David Mullen and a lot of people in the thread have said, they want to enjoy Doctor Who. RTD is supposed to be, as he says, the custodian of Doctor Who because Disney's come in and don't understand it. But the thing is, as you've just said, Gary, he's living on the past. He's living on awards from the past. And I'm sorry, but as a teacher, you're as good as your last lesson. It's as simple as that. And he, at the moment, is really, really, as I use that phrase as well, cultural vandalism of Doctor Who.
The very last thing I'll say, the very, very last thing I'll say about this, Brendan, is that RTD has taken a beloved show. We all love Doctor Who. He's taken a beloved show that was built through the talents of giants like Robert Holmes and Terrence Dicks and Chris Boucher and Malcolm Hull and David Whittaker, and he's reduced it to space glee. I mean, he's a deeply angry and bitter man. He's contemptuous of longtime fans. He needs to go and work out his issues, like with a good psychotherapist, not air them on a TV show. I mean, I thought Space Babies was embarrassing, but this one set a whole new low, and I'm done.
Yeah, Sean. Oh, sorry. Sean just said he was going to come in, but go on. You go, Jeremy, quickly, because obviously I know you haven't been on. But
this episode went down faster than the Yellow Submarine.
True, and why do a blooming episode about the Beatles if, number one, they don't look like the Beatles, and then secondly, you can't use any of the Beatles' music? What is the blooming point of it? I
have to say, I was expecting. Do you remember the TV show The Goodies?
Yes.
And I was expecting the Goodies to come into this. This was like a Goodies episode.
Yeah, with a giant egg.
And you know, and I was just thinking, what the hell am I watching? Seriously.
Yeah, it is a problem. Sean, you wanted to come in?
Yeah, there was a really good line. Again, this is what bothers me. There was a really good line in the Space Babies episode, genuinely, where Ncuti talks about, I'm the doctor, I don't have a job, blah, blah. And it was a bit ham-fisted, but there was a line in it that I really, really liked because I thought it summed up the doctor really well. Now, you know, I'm genuinely, because I can try and see the little nuggets, because I don't think Russell is completely devoid of talent. I just think I don't know what he's trying to do with it. But anyway, the doctor says, I don't have a purpose or a cause or a mission. And I thought, oh, we'll see. But that's the doctor in a nutshell. So you're going against the doctor. You know, Stephen Moffat, there's a brilliant interview out there where Stephen Moffat and Mark Gatiss talk about the doctor and the show. And ironically, because we know what happened towards the end of the run, but Moffat says, the Doctor can't be on the left or the right. He's a complete pacifist. Then he's got it, but he's a warrior. He expects he expects everyone's equal, but he expects someone to get him a cup of tea. He's everything and he's nothing. That was the whole point. And I'm talking to someone who's just watched Millie New Who, and I'm going back to watch the classic stuff, and oh my god, it's outstanding. Yes, the sets are wobbly, but the writing's incredible. And the reason why people aren't watching this, it's nothing to do with this. No one cares about all the stuff we're talking about. Not that I'm cutting our legs off, but no one cares about the stuff we're talking about. Apart from the people who are aware of it, people online, podcasts, YouTubers, political commentaries, etc., etc. Most people don't care about this. They genuinely don't care. And it shows because they vote with their feet. They put someone on.
Sean,
if it's boring, they turn it off.
Sean, I think I disagree with you slightly there. I think people are bothered about it when they're sat on the settee and it's there every episode. Suddenly they start to go, because come on, you hear people talking about they don't watch certain news anymore. You hear people say they don't like the adverts anymore because of whatever. You hear people saying stuff. So people are actually just saying they don't like this agenda. They want to watch escapist whatever. They don't want a propaganda message. And so I kind of do disagree with you, Sean, on that one, which is when Russell Davies, he is a Doctor Who fan, but in this era, he seems to be destroying everything as fandom we loved. And Melanie Weston Investigates said, for example, did anyone see the only Easter egg near the end episode? Before we answer that, Jeremy, I want to say this is the problem really with RTD. He doesn't write a good episode. He just tosses in an Easter egg and little things, hoping that us fans who are not enjoying the episode go, I'll tune in. That's not good enough.
I have a point regarding the Easter egg. If you wanted to underline that and underscore it, he could have played the music that was played in the first episode of An Earthly Child, which would have given it a bit more 1960s.
What did I miss, Jeremy? If it was the Easter egg, did I miss it? What was it?
What was the Easter egg?
The Easter egg was the group that was advertised on the bill poster.
On the bill.
And Ncuti was leaning on the poster. Was it the pop band that Susan was listening to on the transistor radio?
Right. Got you.
I'm trying to think of what it was called. The Three Moods song, something like that.
Oh, how clever! Hold me back.
But that's what I mean.
So that could have been playing in the background. That music.
So
unless
and then she could have done that weird hand thing where she's dancing with the hand.
Whereas, would you say for a moment, just while we're on this, before we really go into the episode, would you say, okay, there's some Easter eggs. I preferred the Easter eggs in Remembrance of the Daleks when we had the homage to 63 then. I preferred that version written by, what was it, Ben Aronovich?
Yeah, such a good one.
The thing is, I don't want Easter eggs. I want a good script.
Yeah,
exactly.
And
I think the problem with
there.
Yeah, the problem with RTD, to borrow one of my dad's lines, he's a legend in his own mind.
Yeah.
Well, he's getting fed it, Sean. That's the thing. Unfortunately,
oh no, yeah, they all are. They all are. Like, is there anybody in that room, in that writing room, or in that that film? Because if they go against it, they wouldn't be there the next week. I don't know. I'm not there. I'm just spitballing. But if I was there, I'd be saying, "Hang on a minute. Do we? Is that the take we want to go with?" I've never done film, but I've done a bit of theatre. Do you know, like, and you're always directors, and the good ones ask you to throw your own suggestions in, or say, "Should I try it this way? Should I try it that way?" Sorry, anyway.
Who's going to say to Russell T Davies, "I didn't think that take was very good. I didn't think that script was very good. That line was good." Did you say, "Get out"?
Well, they should have the gumption, the professionals.
We're
all stand behind your product.
Sean, this is the problem. And I know Cinnamon's going to come in, Rachel's going to come in, but I'll just say it dead fast. The problem now is you've got a man in his 60s who was very, very powerful. There's a massive power imbalance. He's not like he was in the 90s when he was trying to find his way with Creever's Fork and it was all experimental. This man is renowned. He has got award-winning series behind him. Anybody younger hasn't got a cat and hell's chance. And I think he could kill you dead with a decision, actually. Rachel first, then Cinnamon, yeah?
Yeah. So, Sean, I understand what you're saying. I totally understand. And theoretically, in my world, we should be able to actually do something like that, be able to question it or, be able to make some changes where needed. But Russell T. Davis is very, very protective over everything that he's written. So if he has written a direction within the script for the actor or the director to follow, they have to follow it. He doesn't like it being changed whatsoever. And there are writers out there who are like that, unfortunately, and I have worked with them. And yes, it does make it really difficult to work with, but that is the way it is, and I think that will be the way it is with Russell as well.
And
You know, and now I will never work with Russell because I just said that.
As I bring Cinnamon in, I mentioned this in my last saloon last week, which is there's evidence where he actually says that he really will not allow anyone to change a but or a yet in the scripts. Cinnamon?
It's just I'm laughing because the funny thing is, Jinkx aside, I quite actually found the episodes rather somewhat enjoyable. I know, shock horror. I mean, obviously, we're trying not to dab on the space babies too much because obviously we're all here for the Devil's Chord. But even in that one, I really didn't think that the messaging was as strong as a sledgehammer to me face. I really didn't. And I'm not one who, and I'm one who just, I don't like the message either. I've always been strong on it. You know, it's the time it plays, and as long as it's done subtly. Again, some people might say it's not subtle, but I don't know. I really didn't think it was as obvious in these two episodes. And then, bar the scene where they meet with Nanny and she sort of briefly fills them in on a bit of information. Apart from that, they didn't really bang on about it too much. Kind of just got on with it, really. In fairness, and again, I would say that the second one, Devil's Chord, was a little bit more pushy, with little lines like, you know, them, and you know, it's weird because it almost seemed like Russell was taking the mick out of himself because she says them, and he's like, well, who's them, and then they have a little bit of a back and forth, and ultimately she sort of gives up. It was I noticed that watching that. Well, what was the point in putting that in? Because it almost seems like you're ridiculing it.
Well, Cinnamon.
And the little line again later about the lesbians or whatever. But I don't know. It didn't hit me as much as I thought it would. But
well, Cinnamon. The point is, we do want to talk about we do want a range of panelists who have diverse opinions on this. I do not want an echo chamber. So I'm happy to hear that you're going to say some positivity in the episode, because that's the whole blooming point. And we're going to come to that now. So, Rachel, if you can hold it for a second, I'm just going to start us on the first criteria. Obviously, we've said quite a lot already, but the first one is a tasty one for anyone who's not seen us before. Basically, when you watched The Devil's Chord, was it safeguarding what Doctor Who is? Did it feel like Doctor Who? Does the Doctor have recognizable Doctor traits? Was it True Who or Boohoo in essence? And we are going to have to rate it. And we have a special ratings policy. Outstanding. Was it good? Did it need improvement? Did it need special measures? On that criteria only. Rachel?
Wow. Okay. Where do I start? Okay. Well, I'll do my special measures first, because even though I found it in some respects better than Space Babies, I actually think it scores slightly worse than what I gave Space Babies. I'm going to give it a 3. It needs a lot of work. So does it feel like Doctor Who? Well, it did more than Space Babies in some respects. It actually had a storyline.
Yes.
Wow. What's one of those? I felt like we haven't. Apparently, yeah. Well, more of a storyline than Space Babies, anyway. And not as crude either. In that sense. And I actually feel like it would have been, for what it's worth, even though I wasn't overly keen on it, better as a first episode than Space Babies. And I don't actually felt like the Doctor in this. I felt like the right.
Do you want to give us an example, Rachel?
Yeah, I felt like the writing was changing who the Doctor was. Like, why is he always running away?
Yeah.
What is it about this? This is the second time in 2 episodes that he's run away. And okay, I can accept it, you know, occasionally running away, but the Doctor is a hero for children and for, you know, young people, and they want to see bravery. A Space Baby was more brave than the Doctor in the last episode. You know, he went
Yeah,
to
yeah.
approach the boogeyman, you know. So what is going on? Why does the Doctor not actually feel like the Doctor at this current moment in time? And but I will say one thing that I do like is that Ncuti has a slower pace, and I think that's better, because sometimes, and I found this with David Tennant, and as much as I really like David Tennant, I couldn't actually pick up some of the things he was saying because he was going, whoa, too fast, you know, too fast.
Yeah.
But yeah, there you go.
I know. So you give it special measures. That's a
Yeah.
that's a low one. I will save. I keep my powder dry for a little bit. Gary, where would you like to go with your scoring of what you see on the screen there?
Totally backing up what Rachel just said, that it's 2 episodes in a row now where the Doctor runs away in fear, with the added bonus here that he cries to boot. Because you can see the big tear running down his cheek when he's sitting on the ledge, cowering, and on the steps, cowering in fear. And then he turns on a dime from being frozen in terror to being determined to stop him. And I actually did laugh when Ruby said, "You never hide." I'm going, he's run and hide in each of the last 2 episodes, Ruby. Where have you been? And the one thing I will say is, did you notice that the Doctor was totally, wrong-footed every step of the way in this? The Maestro had him at every turn, short-circuited his sonic, and the Doctor wasn't even the one to defeat him. It was the Beatles cosplayers out in the hall, playing the little floaty musical notes above the piano. That I'm not sure how, but that defeated the Maestro while the Doctor was trapped in the drum. The Doctor did nothing in this episode to help defeat the Maestro. So on that sense, I'll give him a 1.
Wow. So just to remind people, because some people, I've tried before, some people love to just not stick to the wording. They're happy with the numbers instead. So that's 2 for special measures. This is so far heading worse than Space Babies. If I just chucked in, I saw the sonic screwdriver. I am getting irritated as hell that if this is supposed to be true Doctor Who, he has completely changed what the sonic does. Now, I could say this about nearly every RTD episode recently, so I'm not going to do a big rant here. I'm just going to say it now drowns out sound. It now can do this amazing thing. I've never seen it do that before. I've never seen it recalibrate a whole spaceship's computer before. I tell you what, from 4 to Doomsday onwards, it would have solved the script in seconds. Honestly, I'm beyond it now. That is, when we talk about breaking the fourth wall, when we talk about having this smug nudge, nudge, wink, wink approach to Doctor Who and not taking it seriously, and then on top of that, you are creating completely lazy shorthand for your writing. I'm out of that. That's got to stop. Every other writer would try and write a script for Doctor Who would have to try harder than that to get a job with RTD. So why is he doing all the kind of backstop easy stuff? Jeremy, where do you go on your scoring of, is this Doctor Who? Did he seem like the Doctor?
Well, just going back to the sonic screwdriver, over a period of time, technology changes and it improves, etc., etc. So I can accept that fact. But going back to the show, did it feel like Doctor Who? No, it didn't. It felt more like Scooby-Doo or an episode out of the Goodies. Does the Doctor have any recognisable traits? Some, but it's still early days yet. But this show is on life support. It's not in special measures. It's on life support.
We're all of a certain age. Do you remember the Hanna-Barbera, Josie and the Pussycats in Outer Space?
Yeah.
It reminded me of that cartoon when I loved it. I watched it because Cinnamon, it was in space. So as a kid,
Josie and the Pussycats in outer space.
This pop band, it's like Spice Girls, but they fell on a button and it took off and then they end up in space. They do adventures every week with weird aliens that always seem to be green. But then in the middle of the episode, they would sing a song. and everybody's happy, and then they get on with the story. This seems to be Doctor Who meets Josie and the Pussycats in Outer Space. It just suddenly, we had, I said at 23 minutes, we had a musical interlude. When Ruby Sunday was playing the piano for about a minute and a half, we had everybody happy. And, you know, Murray Gold could show off his Ruby Sunday tune. And I just thought, considering you had a dance spectacular at the end that nobody knows was needed, and I'll show you the reviewers in a minute, and then on top of that, you've got this interlude in the middle, and then you've got the burping TARDIS at the end when it actually does the last note of the scene. This is not Doctor Who. This is cartoon. This is Doctor Who parody. I think what Michelle was trying to hint at that. It's basically Doctor Who the musical without it being a musical episode. It's just got lots of touches to it. So am I gathering, Jeremy, you were going for special measures?
Well, you're right by saying it basically is a parody now of a parody.
Yes.
And this is what you just do not do. And I would have thought RTD would have understood that. Obviously, quite clearly doesn't. And obviously, the breaking of the fourth wall, you know, the shooty winking to the audience like that, you know, as if to get the joke. It's just so over the top and stupid beyond belief. But I would give this, like Space Babies, 2 out of 10 if it's out of 10. And the reason I give it 2 is for the people who've worked hard on the production team to get this program on the air.
Yeah,
they've obviously worked hard, and I feel sorry for them to have to sit down and watch this rubbish.
I know, because I've seen you texting. I've seen you texting saying you like watching The Unleashed, and it's gutting, isn't it? You see them; they're so proud of the artwork on the Space Babies set and all the rest of it. And I can't knock them; they've worked hard. I said it last night, Jeremy. I really feel sorry for these people, and all of those people are putting their heart and soul into this, and yet the writing is so poor.
It's like working for a company or a firm or an organization that keeps making mistakes after mistakes after mistakes. And you're working for that company or organization, and it's just so disheartening. And just think, I don't want to be here. You know, I love working, but I don't want to be here working on this job or doing this job. And I think a lot of them might just say, I'm going, and they're going to start losing expertise.
Yeah, and just before I come to Sean to ask him on his judgment, Doug Sims here. I'm looking forward to this. There's always a twist at the end, a clue to the twist, Susan twist. Doug, if you stick around, we do have an item. I'll show you, so you know I'm not lying. Where is it? Let's have a look. I love it when I can't see where I've got my stuff. There you go. Yes, we will be discussing this. Don't you worry. And I want to hear what your theories are, because I love to kind of put my panel on it, which is what is going on here. Is this, because we've broken the fourth wall, is this an intertextual joke? You know, we have a song about Susan Twist, so at the end we expect a Susan Twist, so he doesn't give us one this year. You know, something like that. But we can save that. But Doug Sims, I'm on it.
In classic Who, they broke the fourth wall twice? When we had the Feast of Season, when the Doctor raises a glass to the screen, and then again, what was it in the Sontaran one with the fourth Doctor? Even the Sonic Screwdriver won't get me out of this one. That was twice in 26 years. We've had probably about 10, maybe up more than 5.
And then in the at the very end of Invasion of Time,
3 episodes or whatever it was.
Yeah, at the end of Invasion of Time, where he pushes out the box with the new K9 and he smiles to the camera.
Yeah.
Well, William Hartnell did that by himself. He wasn't told to do that, and it wasn't in the script. So that breaking the fourth wall there should not have happened.
I have a quick question. Speaking of William Hartnell, if the problem is this bad that music's gone from the world, why isn't the First Doctor investigating? He's right over there. Shooty pointed to him and said, I'm in Shoreditch right over there. Why isn't the First Doctor coming? That'd be exactly the kind of thing that he'd be investigating. I'd have loved to seen him come over and beat whatever out of Jinkx with his cane.
But this story was set in 1964 or 65. So the Doctor had left Earth by then, I would think.
And the other thing is, if there's no music, how come there's loads of musical instruments everywhere? That's what you think. Well, if there's no music,
Brendan, there's the big flaw there's the big logic flaw at the heart of this whole episode. music has supposedly been gone from the world since 1925, whatever.
Yeah.
So, and then Paul tells the Doctor music started dying out in the 20s and 30s. So if that's the case, why are there still pianos, guitars, bands, orchestras, and recording studios 40 years later?
And what was Susan listening to on the transistor radio in 63?
Why would you be keeping all these useless instruments and studios around decades later?
And why would you have a recording studio as well if the music was not very
I
good?
think they treat it as a joke, don't they? We see the way that the Beatles talk about it. They don't seem interested. You know, they're doing it as a job. I mean, you listen to Lennon and Paul McCartney. They talk about, I know how it's a little side hustle. Oh, when I settle down, and of course, the sort of the him buying every night or whatever it was. So it goes around prancing, music. So yeah, that's a good point. Why didn't you just ban all the instruments then? I just found it funny because I just can't get over the amount of fourth wall breaking. It's a bit odd, isn't it?
They've got nothing left, Cinnamon. They've got nothing left. It's just the Beatles are in it because it's a bit of a look what we've got the Beatles. Oh look, we've got Jinkx Monsoon. Oh look, they've got nothing. They've got no substance behind it. All they've got is the visuals. The look what we've got. It looks good, but it's soulless. It's absolutely soulless.
Well, let's just see what Cinnamon judges it on then. Cinnamon, what are you judging on that criteria then? On is it looking like Doctor Who? Did it feel like the Doctor, etc.? Where would you mark it?
Probably about. Well, sticking to your system, which is why we're here. I'll probably have to go with a 6. I didn't sit there watching these episodes leave feeling like angry or disgusted. I did prefer the Space Babies to this one because I felt that was more, again, people say it's Doctor Who, but it felt more conventional. It was sci-fi. It was on a spaceship. It followed the traditional format that we've seen before of him explaining this rule to the companion, the whole thing about the languages. And again, some people saw that as, you just using the old, you're doing what you've done before. But that's kind of the point though, because that's what it is. I think that again, I'm trying not to stick on the first one, but again, I thought there was the Doctor again shooting. I think he's convincing me more and more that he seems like the Doctor to me, especially at the end when he had a bit of a scene where he said, "Oh, it's a snot pokey monster. I'm still going to risk my life to save it." Then he had a big scene about fighting and pressing the button. I thought that was good, but again, sticking to this episode and to the point as well about the whole running away. Yeah. Fair enough, but I would say that at least in the first episode it was explained because he was confused even himself. Why am I running away for? No, I don't do that. I love new things. So they did explain it. And one of the things I did like about this episode is that, although he's running away again, okay, I don't want the Doctor carrying in fear all the time. I do want him to be that confident person, but I did like, although I'm not particularly enthused by this Jinkx Monsoon character, the Maestro character, I should say. I did like the fact that the Doctor was intimidated. I like how he doesn't always win, or it's always difficult. I like how there was a bit of panic there. Again, I know that's not everyone's cup of tea. I understand that, but I did. I think this episode was a little bit darker actually than I thought it was going to be. To be honest, and I have to say I quite like that part of it. If I'm being truly honest,
well, that might be one thing you bring up in criteria 3 actually. Because that's when you talk about the engagement of it. The one thing I was just seeing in the thread, Ken and George talking about this alternative reality, possibly everything being different. I've actually said since we're in this toy maker giggle Maestro fantasy la la land, which I know a lot of us want to pick up on soon. The other element is that the sledgehammer creating the second TARDIS in the giggle, I still think is going to be key because you can't do that. So what's happened? I really do think that second TARDIS is a fantasy TARDIS that has taken them to an alternative. And everything that's going on is in this alternative because you can't have two TARDISes. And one was just created by toy maker blah. And I do think there's going to be some stupid, illogical wheeze like that. So George and Ken in the thread, I can see what you're saying, because Mavity shouldn't exist, was mentioned again. You have the Beatles who are useless. You have Sir Isaac Newton looking Asian. Everything in this universe is breaking the rules of what makes you what you are. So there must be something going on. It's just I don't know what it is, obviously, and they want me to hang on for another six episodes to be bothered. Sean, what's your judgment on criteria 1?
Right. Okay. So you're a teacher. I tend to react emotionally first, and then I will. Well, not all the time, obviously, but like in terms of stuff like this, you know, I watch it. My heart speaks first, then my head kicks in. So I will do what I've been asked. I'll bring some evidence to it. So in terms of the scales, you know, I agree with Jeremy. It's nothing against the people who made it, but this is diabolical. It's 0. You don't even get a 1. It's operator of last resort. It's not even special measures. The reason why does this feel like the Doctor? No, it does not. The Doctor acts like a 2024, 20 odd getting on for 30 odd year old man. You know, it should be brilliant, but it's awful. It's awful. You know, the Doctor just keeps hiding. Why is he always running away and hiding? They haven't established his character yet. And you know, it's early days. It's 4 episodes, no, 3, whatever it is. He's been in 3.5 episodes now. It's you know, he hasn't established himself at all. The second episode in a row where he's just shoved his sonic screwdriver in a circuit and just left it there. You know, once there's a part in this where they land and he shows her the future, London's all destroyed. And I thought, you can't flash forward and see what will happen if he wins. He's already won. It just didn't make any sense. And last but not least, the irony, the Doctor pointing his Sonic like a weapon before Jinkx cracks it out of his hand or something like that. Yeah, it's just, yeah. I've got nothing else. This is not Doctor Who, and I'm so far out now. I'm only watching it for this. I genuinely just for the content. If I wasn't doing this, it would be off. It would be off. It's like
Gary,
a shock.
Did I get your judgment, Gary, by the way, before I move on?
Oh, yeah. No, I said a 1, but the 1 was for the titles. The 1 was for the titles.
I just want to check. So that has been an absolutely scathing criteria 1 on whether it felt like Doctor Who, was like a Doctor Who show. Really, that's damning. I mean, I've listed so many things for my thing, like you, Sean, and Rachel, and everybody else, and Gary. You know, I don't like the musical thing. Took me out of reality. The fourth wall thing. You've got the zebra crossing at the end. You've got the toy make. I mean, it's in my dialogue, Doctors, but there was a moment when the Doctor says that he was challenged by the toy maker so much that he was ripped into his soul. And I'm thinking, all you did is play pitch and toss. I mean, in Logopolis, you fell from a blooming, big dish. You know, you had you had these major moments. You know, the John Pertwee Doctor went into a radiation cave against the Great One. Meanwhile, they play, you know, here's the ball and catch it, and that rips him in two. Rachel,
I found that such a weird thing to say. You know, that he's been like ripped in two or whatever it was that he said, because he's now implying that he's only like 50%.
Yeah, fantasy TARDIS. I know.
Yeah, it's such a weird thing to say. So it's just, yeah.
That's the quote. I'll just show you it now while I've mentioned it. It's the bottom bit there. I said the toy maker, and defeating him took everything. It ripped me in half. It tore me in half. And you're going, what? What do you mean it ripped you in half? What, you were playing pitch and toss? What the hell are you talking about?
Yeah,
that's not what happened. That's not what happened.
It was a bit before it,
say in the dialogue of the giggle that he had come back in time from a future point because he'd already gone through the therapy and he was resolved and he was okay now. So it wasn't him being created in that moment coming out of Tenet. It was implied through the dialogue, at least I got, that he'd come back, that he was pulled back in time from a future point. Yeah. So all the dialogue, Brendan, you just put up makes no sense about his soul being ripped in half.
Yeah.
It's like a bad version of a Horcrux from Harry Potter.
Oh, don't take right. We're not going there. Don't sully that in my mind.
I think he was being
Dear
more.
God, I've got very.
sorry.
I've got so few franchises left. I mean, they're about to do a TV series, so give it time.
Well,
hey, hello, people.
just to lighten it for a second, and it probably is only for a second, but I like to do that. Number one is get used to this blooming software at the moment, which is so different as it was a few streams ago. It's just acting very strange, but we will get there. Here we go. We have our first awards, everybody. I hope you feel all very musical.
Awards time live from America.
There you go. A bit of Hollywood glamour.
Yes, very good.
Because
Very good.
I'm getting with RTD's script. He wants it all musical. So I know if the thread tells me to stop, I might stop, of course. But
No,
I think
don't stop.
are we doing tap dance next week? I think this is what we're doing. And actually, I was thinking this. I think all the panelists should be not on the screen. And as the music's playing, you move with it and then sit down. I think we can. There's more we can do with this, I think. But anyway, on the Razzie Award, if anybody is new to us, as you know, people can criticize about everything in sight, and we criticize RTD when necessary, but people also have a word with us, and they say, sometimes you can be so critical and negative about Doctor Who. So, of course, we have an item called the Razzie Award, which is a call out, a shout out to somebody in front of the camera or behind the camera that you think should get the Razzie Award for, outstanding contribution to Doctor Who in that episode. So if I just get myself all set up here, and we'll set it up. So there we go. There's a Razzie Award. Does anyone want to actually start to name the first one? I mean, on my screen here are the credits, which might guide you if you desperately need to say anybody. I'm going to, just while you warm up, I'm going to say costume. I'm actually going to say costume designer because it was a 60s story. I actually thought it really worked. Shooty's outfit was impressive, as was Millie's. I thought it all just kind of worked like... Look, I know you're going to look at me funny and go, what about the Maestro's costume? But the trouble is, if you're being directed by RTD, you do as you're blooming well told, don't you? And there were a few possibilities, but I've gone for costume and I'm just sticking at that. So... Gary, where would you want to go with your Razzie Award?
I back you up with the costume, mostly from Millie's, who I thought just looked great in this episode. Balanced out on the negative side by Jinkx's dress during that alternate 2024 scene. But at that point, I was done.
Yeah.
But I thought Millie looked great. The other scene I thought was kind of clever and well filmed, even though, as it was mentioned before, they're futzing with what the Sonic can do. I thought that the silent scene was kind of clever and well filmed.
Yeah. So, costume in the end or direction?
Costume.
Okay, costumes. That's 2 for costume. Rachel.
Well, I was really torn on this one. I was torn between costume and I was torn between Shirley Ballas and Johannes Radebe because I actually like those two and I have a soft spot for JoJo. So I'm actually going to give it to them for coming into this mess and just selling it.
Yes.
For those of you who don't know, they were in the dancing scene at the end, and that was about
Oh.
the only thing that piqued my interest in that whole entire routine. So
Yes.
they're going to get it.
I have a slide 205 where I could show you that, but I won't get there till the end of the stream.
Yes, Jojo and Shirley.
Right, Jojo and Shirley. Jeremy, where would you like to go with your award?
Well, I'd like to be slightly different and go back to what I said earlier on by giving the award to some of the production staff for using the effort, having the effort and energy to put it together. Even though it was a big pile of, but at least there was the effort and energy, and all these people in the background that don't get praise and probably deserve praise, quite frankly.
Do you know what, Jeremy? Before I move on, Anna, Cinnamon, and Sean, I have to say, and it is hard this, but I think it's good to do because it does make you think out the box, so to speak, in these reviews. But you know, the musical chords wrapping around Millie, it was well realized in the graphics, but then in real, I liked all that. That worked. And you know, when he was trying to get the last note, you know, I mean, I'm thinking that. Look, I didn't want it in the episode, but I'm calling out the people who were asked to do that job, and I thought they made it realised as well as possible. So I could have gone in a few different directions. Cinnamon, where would you like to go? Where would your award be?
Well, I can't really give it to a specific person like I probably normally would have. I would say the best person would have been Ncuti, but again, like I said earlier, I feel like he was a little bit upstage due to the overzealous and over the top performance from Jinkx. So I guess I don't know if this counts as direction, possibly, but I would say the tone and the atmosphere of the episode, because again that surprised me. Even though a lot of it is, it's a lot of singing and dancing, which I would say makes fits in the context of the story. But I just think it was a little bit also darker than I thought it was actually going to be. Just how I was zapped of life and passion and happiness that a lot of other people were thinking about dogs not being dead, and he's my dog, not your dog, get your own dog. But I don't know, I like that bit. I thought again, seeing the just the atmosphere again, the atmosphere, the tone, fear on Ncuti or on the Doctor. Again, whether that counts as the writing or the direction, I'm not quite sure. A bit of both, isn't it? But I guess I'd say maybe the directional choice as well, and the silence bit. Silent. Again, I know people say overpowered sonic screwdriver, but again, I thought that was clever. It was something new, something different.
Right. So we've got liberal Zardoz saying the set designers. So yeah, keep telling us in the thread because we want to be fair here before we go on to another negative, no doubt. Sean, as I come to you for the final of the awarding of the Razalon Award, I know what Cinnamon's saying there. I said it about Space Babies as well, and I guess this would come down to direction, which is why I pulled back, which is tonally. Do you know what? That first minute, you had me. I thought, do you know, it could be dark, this. And then it changed again. And I just think the tone was all over the shop, but that's me just going on about direction, maybe. So, Sean, where's your award?
My award goes to the audience. Every single one of you that dragged yourself through this boring,
I was going to say that.
Absolute dross.
Very good.
Deserves an
Where's
award
my award?
for losing almost an hour of your life.
Yes.
When you could have gone for a nice walk.
Very good.
Even if it's raining where you go for a nice walk, look at the sky, touch some grass. Just do something else. This genuinely tidy your room, buy your mum a bunch of flowers, cut her toenails if she wants. This will not. That'll at least get you some brownie points. Genuinely, like, you should be thanked because, dear God, they need you. They really need you. My special mention, though, to answer Brendan seriously.
You're playing that. You're triggering this teacher, you know.
Sorry, I'm that kid in the class.
Yeah, I know you are.
Reports. I'll have to send you it, where it says something like, "The whole class will say they're like this about it." Sean will pick another way. That special mention will go to Murray Gold. I love the 15th theme. I love it. I absolutely love the theme.
Yeah.
I've listened to it over and over. And I love that part when he leant off the ladder. I thought that was such a Doctor moment anyway. And I love the fact there's a slight sting. I think it was admittedly in Space Babies where he's talking about "I'm the last of my kind," etc. There was like a slight sting of the 9th Doctor and the 10th Doctor's kind of, the proper theme behind one of Ncuti's lines or speech. But the problem is, in this episode, I noticed it as well. It's far too quiet. Like, it's barely there. It's like what was his name? Segunola, or the one who did. Sorry, thank you. Sorry, I genuinely couldn't. Anyway, the guy who did the Chibnall run. I mean, that was like almost too loud. It took over everything. This time, it's too quiet. Like, you've got Murray Gold. Use Murray Gold. Like, really. Sorry, say that again, Cinnamon.
Go on. I did nearly give it to Murray Gold because it is a musical episode and the music was quite. it changed. There were lots of different types of musical things going on. When I thought it was darker, it was quite discordant, and I did like that. But yes, it was. We had the Ruby Sunday tune, which I heard at the concert, and that was quite pretty. You know, you had lots of little light touches and all that. But anyway, there's our Razzle-On Awards handed out. Well done, all those people. I noticed we didn't give any to In Front of the Camera this time. We did shoot it yesterday. But
Nobody voted for the Beatles.
well, yeah, where were they?
I can't
Where
think
were the
why. They're
Beatles?
twerkles, aren't they?
I loved Ringo. I loved Ringo Starr in the.
Yeah, Ringo
the
was
narrator.
great in this episode.
I like the meltdown.
I was talking about when he narrates Thomas and Friends, but that's bad about.
Yeah. No, that's a cool TV show. I used to watch that when I was
So good.
younger.
Right.
Anyway,
So good.
let's
Now,
bring it back to Doctor Who.
We've got we've
Sorry,
we've
I'm
got
laughing
our
at the comment.
item here, which is you can see I poured over loads of the reviews, and I'm fair. So the kind of amber color is obviously the negatives, and the green are the positives. And I have to say, I could have gone a bit further on the green, but I just wanted one slide. So basically, if you just take a look, panel, are there any that you want to call out before we move on to the next item? So I'm not going to read them all to people watching. I'm sure you'll all pick yours, but you can see the negatives are more on the left, but there were many, many more positives about the overall episode. You know, for example, saying it's a doozy, crowd pleasing, the budget means this show has the green light to do whatever it wants, that sort of thing. There was an interesting one at the top there. Doctor is like Kramer from Seinfeld, enters a room with a spring in his step, if everyone remembers Seinfeld. But on the negative side, bizarre TV show ever made, tad indulgent at times. Rachel, is there anything there that you want to kind of just elaborate on? It might have just kind of triggered something.
Yeah, there's one on the green side. It says more crowd pleasing episode. I would agree with that, because when I watched it yesterday, I went into it thinking about I had no expectations, knowing that Disney were obviously going to try and meet a target audience, and then obviously knowing that we've got new Who fans, from Christopher Eccleston through to end of Jodie Whittaker, and then obviously we've got classic Who fans, and I was just like went in open-minded. And I think this particular episode, the way it was done, the way it was stylized, was it was specifically, in my opinion, for the audiences that are going to be watching on Disney Plus. There was something about it that made me think of Disney Pixar movies, when they all have like a song and dance number at the end because everybody's all yay joyous, we were successful. That's exactly what it reminded me of. And now, as someone who has watched all of New Who and the majority of the classics, still catching up on some that I haven't seen, I would say that for myself and the classic viewers, maybe this is not an actual episode that we would be overly happy with, but I think for anyone coming into it as a new person, like for example my friend, I think she would be totally happy with something like that.
Rachel, with what you're just saying, Liberal Zardoz is asking us a question, and it just links with what you're saying, really. If this was a different show, peel off the Doctor Who label, would you be kinder to it? Now, I'll just say very quickly, I wouldn't watch it. It's not my thing.
Yes, exactly.
So here's the thing. If I was like,
well, because it's a sorry, Rachel, I apologise, but it's a bit like
right.
It's a bit like if you take everything that makes a pizza off it, is it still a pizza? If you take the dough off the cheese, pepperoni. I mean, all the different types of pizzas, I get that.
But I never.
If you take away the 60 years of Doctor Who, is it still Doctor Who, or is it? Or at this point, would that be?
And Cinnamon, Cinnamon. I never watched Glee. This episode is a bit like Glee. Not my thing. Rachel, what were you going to say is your answer?
Yeah. So, like, if I had never watched Doctor Who, and if you remove the Doctor Who label, and I was like just flicking through looking for something to watch, I'd put it on, and maybe I'd be like, yeah, okay, that was all right. It was a bit of fun, but other than that, I wouldn't probably make the effort to watch it again.
Yeah.
So I don't think I would be into it per se.
This is like
it is a different show.
Sorry,
Jeremy.
it's a good question. I don't know what it is.
This is like
Yeah, no,
watching
it is a good question.
Mike Myers, Austin Powers. That's how it felt.
Oh, behave.
Well, Austin Powers was much more funnier.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
this, it got the feeling is it actually wasn't filmed in Abbey Road. It could have been
Yeah.
filmed in America.
Do you know what?
America, a Hollywood studio doing an impression of Abbey Road, and the studios and extra. I didn't get that feeling, that sort of 1960s full vibe. This was an impression, not an actual. Let's do it properly. Like they do in Heartbeat and some of the other programs
Such a
that
good
try and
show.
emulate the 1960s.
Is there anything else there that anyone wants to pick on? Because it might remind you of something that we haven't
I do
said.
actually. I've got a good one, I think. Well, I hope it's a good one. You've got there in green actually. Welcomes long-term fans with nice callbacks. It's funny you put that in green because I would actually argue that that's a red or negative. I think I would say that that's to its detriment. All these constant callbacks, and it's not even just Doctor. We see it with with other shows like Star Wars, bringing back Kenobi and stuff. These little references to Susan, and again bringing David Tennant back in the 60th, which seems so conflicting and so contradictory to me, because in one breath they're sort of saying, "Oh, let's get back all those old viewers that we've lost along the way," only to then turn around and then to tell them to F off and then go touch grass. So it's what do they want? Do they want to try and appease the old viewers to come back by throwing David Tennant in there for a couple of episodes? On giving out member berries, only to tell us to go away again. It's mixed messages and being pulled, left, right, and centre. I just thought I'd mention that because again, I would say that's to its detriment. Because if you're just going to tell everyone to F off, then why bother to try and win people?
Thing is, though, Cinnamon, people have listened and people have gone, haven't they? People have listened and people have gone. Yeah. Dear God, we've all probably worked in jobs in our lives where you sell things. I am and all where you sell things, or you're going to provide a service. If you treated people like that, you'd be pulled into the office and told. You'd be told this is not acceptable way to talk to people. Do you remember when we just used to discuss quality, and we are discussing quality? This makes Fear Her look like Turn Left. I would watch Fear Her every day for the rest of my life, than have to watch The Devil's Card back again. It's absolutely dreadful. Yeah. It's dreadful.
I honestly know. Me and Jamie said that the 2 episodes that were delivered to us, and remember, it was together. This was an idea they had. The 2 episodes together as a package have just put me off that type of Doctor Who forever. I will never. It was such a horrible experience. I will never watch those 2 episodes ever again in my life. It was just horrific. But you see, I'm still here. Not only because I'm a Doctor Who fan, but because I think Boom has a lot more potential because it's Stephen Moffat. And of course, once you get past the silly RTD episodes, you sometimes build to something that sometimes has some relevance to Doctor Who.
But we're having to build ourselves up to we're making excuses and reasons. Sorry, well, I'm making excuses and reasons as to why to come back and watch it. Or it's a Moffat one, or it's this, or Jinkx is in it, or this. We're making excuses as to build yourself up to actually watch it. It shouldn't be like that. You should be rushing home and be like, oh my God, it's on at so-and-so.
Yeah.
Mind you,
we're coming up with excuses.
Well, streaming and everything, TV's losing its power in many ways anyway. Gary, what would you say? Is there anything there? Because I'm not going to...
Well, I first, yes, I want to also kind of back up Jeremy's point. I actually think, this episode could have used a cameo from Mike Myers. That would have been great. And Dr. Evil as well. That would have been, and the Alan Parsons Project, that would have been a lot better than the music we got. But on your chart here, I see an orange. There are moments that could benefit from being dialed back. If they mean every single moment that Jinkx Monsoon was in, yes, then I agree with that.
Yeah.
When they say that the musical sequence, and I assume they're talking about the one at the end, wonderfully unnecessary, I would go with unnecessary and not wonderful. The ostentatiously tad indulgent at times. That to me is a tad. Yeah, that is the most. A tad. Yeah.
Yeah, that famous phrase, killing you with famous phrase.
I mean, we had, I mean, that entire cringe-inducing music battle with no rhymes or rules or reason. I mean, to me, that was just silly, embarrassing, and nonsensical. To me, that belonged in Who Framed Roger Rabbit, you know, with them going into the instruments and all that kind of stuff. I thought that and then the thing at the end, which I call the beyond pointless OMG, what am I watching final dance number. I mean, at least in Buffy, they tried to justify the songs in the story as part of the story. I mean, this just felt to me like it was kind of a deleted scene from Disney's High School Musical series. You know, and then
that's far too high quality to be compared to this.
I didn't watch the Unchained or whatever they call it. I'm guessing that it felt to me like RTD really, really, really wanted to stage a musical number, and he wrote an entire episode to justify it, only he failed because there's no in-story justification for that last scene. So
I would actually argue that there's a slight one. And, you know, I get why a lot of people are saying that, because I've seen quite a fair amount of people actually say that. Like, oh, it was an all right episode. Well, not all right, but no, a lot of people are quite perplexed by that final 5 minutes or the final couple of minutes. And the only point that I would ever put across to explain that scene, this last little sing and dance that they do, Glee, High School Musical, whatever, call it what you want. The only way I can explain that or justify that is because if this was a world that was so, you know, sapped of energy, you know, music, life, passion, all the things that can come with music. So this was like one big release kind of thing. Like, yeah, we heard beer music taken away from us, and now we're going to go mental. Again, but if that was happening in any other episode, again, I give it a pass, and maybe, I don't know, maybe people will disagree with me on this, but I can give it a pass on this one because of the context about music. But if they keep doing this again and again, it's going to become a really big problem. Because we had the Christmas episode, the song and dance. None in Space Babies, I don't think, if I remember correctly. So, okay, fine. But now we've got that. It's 2 out of 3 episodes now. And what about the Bridgerton episode? Are we going to have a little jig there as well? I mean, we are, because we've already seen them dancing with
that'll be a whole like waltz number.
Yeah, but this is what they've got to be careful of. It's just that it's just if he's clever about the diet of episodes, we've had a lot together which make Doctor Who go into silly kiddie category. And I haven't seen a serious one yet. I just haven't seen a serious one. Where's the heavy drama bit? Now I'm moving on because obviously there's a fair bit to say, but basically there, I tended to lean towards where it was really saying, reading between the lines of the English of what they were saying, a lot of reviewers, even when they were being positive, were saying that this is clearly signaling that Doctor Who is going to go in a very different direction to what it ever has before. And that, to me, a diehard Doctor Who fan concerns me. And as Jeremy's just shown with his gestures, worries me sick. Yeah. Because knowing that RTD is out of control and has nobody watching him, we are in big doo-doo. By the way, I think it might just interest you. On the reviews, that's how the scorecard looked for Maestro. There was not one criticism I saw.
Well, nobody online wants to get cancelled.
Yeah.
And that's why.
Well, these were the main newspapers.
Well, the thing is, Brendan, the first episode we had a snot monster. And the second episode, we had a monster. Expletive.
I mean, Rachael,
could you see?
Sorry, Sean, I will let you in. Don't worry. Rachel, look at that. Able to switch from playful and flirtatious to anger at the flip of a switch. Outstanding acting.
Yes, I can. Sorry.
Able to switch from playful and flirtatious to anger at the flip of the switch.
I didn't see that.
Good acting.
That's Matt Smith.
Right. Okay, so this is serious now. Okay. Obviously I will say it again. I don't call an actor bad, and I will never say that they're one-dimensional because I've been there and I've done it. My degree is musical theatre, got hat, t-shirt, and clogs to go with it.
Wow.
Was she able to do that? Yes and no. Yes and no. I think it needed a lot of work. It was way too over the top. It
Massively
was
over the top.
massively over the top.
Yes.
It was and some of this is partly the director here. The director is at fault here because the director should be the one saying, pull it back, stop it. This is too much. No, okay. Now I'll give credit where credit's due. The energy behind that, that's great that you're coming in and you're attacking it with that kind of energy, but actually it's better to do it that way and be told to put it back. But the thing is, I don't think she was ever told to put it back, and it just upstaged Ncuti, Millie, it upstaged everyone.
Yeah.
And that's not fair. I mean, Jinkx knows what it's like to be up there and doing it, but I think her experience as a drag queen, where they do have to be overly flamboyant, actually played across into this. Now, one of the things that she said was this type of character was more freeing, and what she actually means by that is that she's already got an elevated status because the character's an antagonist. But the thing is, she didn't question why that character's an antagonist.
Yeah.
I don't think she did that. And I think she needed help with establishing the reasons why she was doing what she was doing. And I don't think that was done. And that is the responsibility of a director and even an acting coach for someone who is obviously very new to acting. Now, I am aware that Jinkx's predominant experience is stage. So everything has to be bigger on the stage. So there is that to it as well. And acting for screen is actually a very different skill to yes, I know sorry. They, he, she, they, sorry. But I am just referring to Jinkx as a drag queen here. But anyway, as I was saying, acting for screen is something that you have to learn as a separate skill. You have to learn how to pull it back, and it's generally something that we do actually conquer on our degrees and our courses, and that's just not happened here. And it's there's like I'm guessing this is going into the next criteria, but if I want to talk, let's have a look at something else here. Okay.
Well, if I just, I mean, it says in a few parts they seem to agree this drag queen was operatic. Now, sometimes I see that as a euphemism for just saying OTT. That's my ignorance. Yeah. Operatic meaning OTT. Then there's this genius performance. There's always a review that says something, so that might be an outlier. Camp glee, crackled with energy. Now, as you said, yes, he dominated every scene. The trouble wasn't allowing anybody else in to breathe. Yeah.
It's upstaging, and upstaging in the acting industry is a bad habit, and it shouldn't happen.
Well,
and Jinkx is a drag queen for those who don't know.
The last one says scene stealing, so you can see,
yes, upstaging.
Like I said, wasn't it? I think people are confusing. The powerful of it. Oh, in your face it was. I think well. People believe that's a good thing. That's what they believe. But I think other people are confusing big and powerful and out there is a good thing. Whereas, again, like you say, it's over the top. And I see drag as, by definition, over the top, extreme. Again, when we look at a lot of drag, it's an extreme, expression of what women can look like with extreme hairstyles, extreme makeup, extreme campiness. I mean, Cinnamon. Just quickly, this on the tea time. So I watched it on midnight, and then they put it on obviously on terrestrial TV. Before that, The Weakest Link was on, and there was a drag queen on there, and she was the most over the top person on that as well. Again, just sucked the energy.
And I think elements of drag queen played through into it.
Yeah.
Well, that's a quiz program, but that's a different.
Yeah. See, as I said at the beginning when I was responding to one of Cinnamon's comments, what plays on stage is not automatically translatable to television.
But in this, am I missing something? That in this, right? You like, isn't it? I was thinking about what Rachael was saying. I was listening. I was thinking, as an actor, actress, what the hell you want to go by, you are as open to criticism as anybody else. You're bloody well paid. You're paid bloody
Yes.
well. I'm not saying if you get paid more, you're more open to
Yeah.
criticism. I'm not saying that at all. But you know, they need to start doing yearly appraisals. Look at the cold hard facts of what on earth you destroyed Doctor Who this year. Yes, well done. You know, you really need to like pandering and treating people with kid gloves. Yeah, that
Ooh,
they were a
child
ballet dancer.
capture.
Brilliant example. I don't know if they were playing a drag queen in this. I don't know, but the performance just wasn't good. It's irrelevant who you are, what you look like, anything. You did not turn in a good performance. End of story. It was poor. It's
Yeah.
not to do with who you are.
I
You were.
I
You
think
did.
this
It was awful, boring,
this is the this is
turgid.
this is the problem I think that is going on, and I'm very wary of it as a Doctor Who fan from way back. Is I was always fearful. Every few episodes, you were worried about a new actor coming in who, with bad direction or whatever, as Rachel says, would sometimes think because it's Doctor Who, because it's sci-fi, because the reins are off a bit, and you could always see the actor who thought this was a nice bit of money for them, and they could go a bit bigger. And if you didn't have a good
Silly little
director,
kid show, isn't it? The
Yeah,
silly little kid
yes,
show.
exactly, and it was always patronizing. And when I saw Jinkx Monsoon with this performance, I immediately, you know the bit I'm talking about, when came down that rope and was looking for the Doctor who was hiding, and it felt like the child catcher in
Yeah.
Chitty Chitty Bang
Yeah.
Bang, because it was almost actually, I thought she was going to sniff him out, a bit like the child catcher. It just felt like that. Now, you see, that's a kids' movie made in 1968. I thought we'd moved on with our standards. He is a good cartoon character on the screen. Really good character. Great for the kids. You know, very iconic, very black and white. There's no nuance. There's no complexity in that role at all. And that's what I thought I was getting with Jinkx Monsoon's character in 2024.
Hey, Brendan,
The same
what
with,
if the child catcher?
Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, what if ask Brendan, what if the child catcher turns out to be the one who waits?
Oh,
You bring
don't-
Richard
don't-
O'Brien in as the child catcher or
Yeah,
something.
then I would be
Yeah.
scared because the child catcher was not my nightmare, because obviously I wanted the lollies in that van, his cage, and I'd have been caught every time. But and when I used to teach, to take the mick out of them, sometimes I'd be doing this strange child catcher sequence when I was wandering up and down the aisles. Don't go there. But yes, because I love doing the lines. Yeah.
More information, please. No. Hold on.
Wow.
No.
You have
Let's
any
just
video
park
of
that
that?
too.
So, I think we need to get to creativity. Not that I want to be a pain in the neck, but obviously this is a serious review, as in we do want to deliver to our people who are watching. And of course, it brings out nuggets of information that people would want to hear. So criteria 2, nice and general as well. It means the panelists can go where they want. I'm going to make sure in the next 13 minutes that I've got Gary in twice so everybody understands, because he'll have to go. So, Gary, if you want to start off with your judgment of how the production went overall, and go from there.
Well, we've already, in some ways kind of covered about so much of this. I mean, obviously, as you've said, the final production number, although bizarre, was well staged. As Jeremy, I think it was, said, you have to admire the craftsmanship of the people who would take the effort to put that together. I think that, but again, kind of like, what's it all in service to? If the script isn't, coherent and engaging and absorbing, then it basically is just kind of cotton candy. The one element that hasn't been mentioned yet that I will bring up about the script is, it's another episode and another ripoff. Homage from RTD. In this case, I thought the Fourth Doctor and Sarah did a much better job of the alternate desolation in Pyramids of Mars than Ruby and the Doctor did here.
Yeah.
There's indications that the Ruby story might be, but hopefully isn't, lifting from the Impossible Girl in terms of she's wrong. I thought that's where my mind went. Oh, it's an Impossible Girl. And then the whole dancing on the piano keys scene from Big at the crosswalk at the end.
Yes, yes.
I thought, when the song says there might always be a twist at the end, I thought, well, but there's always another RTD steal at the end too. But I mean, there's things that are professionally done about it. You can't not acknowledge that. But again, I mean, looking at the whole thing, it's like there's just a lot of sand traps too.
Yeah, I mean, one thing are you doing special measures or improvement? I'm just checking where you were on that one.
Oh,
let's have
because the good stuff is good. I'll do 6.
Okay, so I will mark that down. I just wanted to move on to let's have a look, Jeremy, where you were going to judge this. I quickly marked this. It's still not brilliant because, of course, that whole scene with the white piano that somebody's talked about already seems so theatrical. I hated that scene when Jinkx was on the piano and we had a curtain set, and they had a projector screen almost on the curtains, and it just went very, very surreal. I loved that biography movie about Elton John, Rocket Man, and there were cut scenes. There was a honky cat moment when they did a whole dance number. You can see it on YouTube, but they cut it from the movie, and that was a surreal movie. But they cut it. We had it in Doctor Who in a 45-50-minute show. Ridiculous. So I think there were some bad choices. I always talk about the tonal jumps. It was too theatrical, so I'm out on that one. Jeremy, where do you go on it?
Go on. Oh, sorry, which category were we
this
talking
is
about?
How it was produced, as in, so you can go from the acting, you can go to costume, you can go in lots of different directions. It's up to you.
Well, again, I go back to the people that sort of were behind the scenes doing the production. Obviously, there's merit in that, but for me, the whole story, the whole setup was a complete, utter, total disaster and a waste of an opportunity to do something good with this story. The whole setup, you've got the Beatles, Abbey Road, etc. Even if you couldn't have had the Beatles, you could have done the group that Susan was listening to on the transistor radio. That would have been more plausible. But for me, I would give it maybe a 3 or 4 in terms of production standards. But
Okay,
really,
so...
it just felt vacuous.
And I understand you're trying to be fair, like I am actually with the production team, because they do what they're told and they're using their skills on it. I just want to mention, by the way, because I've got this photograph on. I don't know if anyone's shared a stream with TARDIS Spider, Terry, but he has got on his website, he's got this, the blue suit, and he's got good photographs when he's gone to shows and everything. So yes, Terry, I know you have got that suit as well, and you will look equally good in it, I'm sure. So, Rachael, where are you going to score it?
Yeah, it's a tricky one for me because, believe it or not, Jinkx's performance brings it down a lot for me.
Yeah.
And I don't want to sound cruel by saying that, but it's true. I'm not going to lie. So I would say between a 3 and a 4. Because there is very much clearly a lot of effort that has gone into making the best out of a weakish script. You see, there's lots of good ideas in the script, and that's what makes it even more annoying as well. But the moments where Jinkx is like, you called, that was very much drag queen moment. There was cheesy puns like harping on whilst playing a harp, but the thing that I did like, and maybe this is because this is taking the sonic screwdriver out of the equation, and you all know how I feel about the sonic screwdriver, is the tuning fork. And the sonic screwdriver is like making it all silent, and then once Jinkx just goes, I was like, yes, it's gone. So I did like that. But you know what I think about the sonic screwdriver. So between a 3 and a 4, I'll give it a 3.
Okay, I've
Yeah.
got that one. So if I come to Sean,
Sorry, couldn't unmute for some reason. Sorry, what was the
All right.
question? Sorry, I was too busy.
I thought
listening.
I thought my Sonic was silencing the world. And Sean was-
I just
Do
have
you
a
know,
quick
it's a
question.
shame. Go
I
on.
just have a quick question. Why is it raining inside the building?
Oh, Jeremy, you're asking very difficult questions. Don't just enjoy the show.
Set fire,
Archie.
set fire off
Oh,
and-
maybe that's
Oh.
the
It's all coming down.
maybe that's the twist at the end. There's a horrific electrocution
That's
scene,
right.
like out of
It's the one who
Poseidon.
waits.
I think
Well,
that's the direct. It's the director crying, and those are his tears.
It's the
Do
band
you know,
crying.
I thought the direction was really. I mean, I think the dance number at the end, although it's not suited to Doctor Who and it shouldn't be there in a million years, that was about the best bit in terms of how it was directed. At least, because you can't lie when someone's dancing. You can't. You
Yeah.
can't pretend they can do it if they can't, because you can see it. I think in terms of production values, very strangely filmed. I think the music mix is bizarre in terms of Murray Gold just putting it in the background. I think one thing that really annoyed me. And, it's not like I haven't seen it before in films where, you're not going to get every actor like Adrian Brody who learns the piano for a role. But the way they filmed the Jinkx Monsoon stuff really irritated me every time they had to play the piano, because you could see that they clearly don't play the piano. So they're having to film it, not to show the fingers. And it was like, this is really,
Yeah.
and that really stood out to me and really annoyed me. I mean, but I've got to be honest, I spent most of the time on my phone watching the episode because I was just bored. I think I was messaging you through most of it, Brendan, just like infuriated. But I mean, and it's not kicking the people who've done it. It's just, it looks nice. I thought, I mean, I've got to be honest, and I didn't think I'd squeeze this in, but I thought they've changed the intro, the introduction with the TARDIS.
Yeah.
That new CGI, dear God in heaven, what is that? Where it flies across the screen through like all the galaxies. My God, that CGI is horrendous. Horrendous. And I'm rewatching back and doing a series on series 4 right now.
That's production. That's production. So your mark in the end. Sorry, I just want to check, and then I might ask Gary for the third one quickly, and then.
No, that's okay. I actually have about an extra 15 minutes, so just go at your own pace.
So I'll quickly. Sean, your scoring for that was
Well, I'll be generous. I'll go with a 4.
You'll go with a 4, so that's improvement needed. And Cinnamon, your judgment on this one?
Yeah, I think from an acting point of view, I mean, well, again, that sounds like a negative thing on the acting, because Ncuti and Millie and all the rest were fine, but it's just, again, they're so overshadowed by Jinkx. They're quite missable. Like, I can't really think of, like, I'm struggling to think of like of a big impact they actually had on the episode. I mean, literally, they were saved by the Beatles in the end. It's more about what it looks like. And again, it's a good thanks for Sean for bringing it up, because I actually forgot about this and I was going to mention it, but I actually thought the extra little bit, I thought they fixed the title sequence, because that really bothered me, the fact that it was really shortened, and it really bothered me, because I don't know, I'm one of those traditional fans that like it the same length. Well, it's been different lengths, but I preferred that they fixed that, except for the little ending bit where they kind of like the music kind of jumps itself a little bit. But again, nitpicking. But I thought again, the Disney budget shows, you can see again this.
I think it jumped, Cinnamon, because they had that Jinkx tapping, didn't they? I think that's why it jumped, because they had Jinkx tapping, and I think they'd unsynced it a little bit. That's my opinion, anyway.
Yeah, they did.
Yeah, it's a bit where obviously they filmed it, they recorded the audio well before anyway, and then obviously when they've listened to the feedback, which fair play, I give again. How I look at it is, I'll give praise where it's due, and if I feel like something to worthy about, I'll give it, because I thought, well, that was the one change that I wanted to happen. I didn't like the way it was shortened, so fair play for the changing the theme.
Okay,
but yeah, just again.
So,
and Brendan, I want to lower my rating to a 4. My 6 was way too high. I'm going to drop it to
okay. I've got that.
Yes, join us, Retro Doc. Join us.
So just while we've still got Gary, on the last one, just to grab you, remember, in the end, you can only judge this, panelists and people in the thread, you can only judge it on whether you actually kept engaged, because let's face it, that's outstanding would be, oh my God, it was just I was there. And obviously, as I heard Sean, and I agree with you, Sean, me and Jamie, we ended up just talking. I love Doctor Who, and I try my best with Doctor Who more than any other program, but I found myself just making my notes for today's show, thinking, oh God, and Eurovision as well. I was just starting to struggle. So, Gary, where did you go on engagement?
I would give a 7 just on my number because you didn't ask, but I'd just give it a same thing, 7 as well.
Okay, doc. Thank you.
Brendan, my answer to those 3 questions on that
Yes.
graphic that you put up,
Yeah.
would be no, no, and no.
So I can only guess then.
It was the engagement was, like I said, horror at kind of what I was watching. I really couldn't believe it. The resolution, like I said, again, to the detriment of the Doctor's character, the Doctor was behind consistently on this, and he didn't even really win. And then the third one was what was the third one?
The third one, let me just get it up there. Sorry.
I'll have these memorized eventually, Brendan.
Good story writing.
No, because as we've discussed, there were just mammoth plot holes just at the very core of this. So, and you know what? As I was listening to all of you talk earlier, I thought there is a good story somewhere in the concept of what happens to a world, not necessarily Earth, but a world when music is removed. There is a great core concept there.
It's yesterday, isn't it? Did the film?
There was too many gimmicks in this because you've got to wedge in the Beatles. You've got to wedge in the dance number. You've got to wedge in the OTT Jinkx Monsoon. So if you scrape all of the bells and whistles off, there is a fine Doctor Who story in there, but it just went untapped.
And that again is down to RTD. He's trying to do too many things at once. It's like, later on we'll talk about what the narrative arc might be, who Susan Twist is. He's doing too many things and he's not doing the brass tacks. I would argue with him now, and I'm going to have the cheek to do it. But as a writer, he needs to refine his craft because his eyes have gone off the main game. So, I mean, I've got him special measures. I'm at very low for engagement because I was bored rigid. I was out. And Doctor Who never does that to me. It's only done Space Babies. And Fear Her was boring and a couple of others. That's it. But these were awful. So, Jeremy, where would you score this one? As if I have to ask.
Well, it was no worse than a bad dose of the flu. I would have to score this to be relatively generous because of the people.
Sorry, I thought Mike was off. Damn it.
2.
Right, got you. Is anyone going to give it higher than special measures? I just want to ask that because that's one way of just kind of, as in, were you engaged? So I'll ask Rachael, then I'll ask Cinnamon. Just right, Rachael. So if I just had the scores up, of course, this is judging it on resolution and everything. I mean,
I'm going to give it about a 4.5. So it's not much higher. Was I engaged for the most of it? I don't think it was for the right reasons, but I was engaged. But I was bored with the cafeteria chat. And the end song, the only thing that appealed to me was Shirley and Jojo, because I like Shirley and Jojo. And other than that, I was pretty much switched off by that point at the end. So much so that I missed this supposed Easter egg. So that goes to show how much attention I was paying at the end. I actually think the resolution was way too quick. I actually think that the resolution could have been more creative. in actual fact, the time spent doing this dance sequence could have been the time spent to doing the resolution.
Exactly.
Yeah, and can I just say, my
No.
theory about Maestro being summoned by the Devil's Chord was correct. So props to me.
Yes,
Go me.
and you know, and Rachel does have her own channel, and she has done a Maestro show
I have. Yep.
way back. In fact, your title will say it very clearly, won't it?
Yep.
Where
Yeah.
you go over this. Yeah.
Sorry, can I add to it as well, actually, please? So I actually like the character of the Maestro, the concept of the character. However, it should have been played by a woman. It was the best antagonist for a while per se, even though it was miscast. And I actually like how the Maestro was introduced. I do like that. And introduced early. So it's like, oh,
Yeah.
who is this? You know, what's this person going to be? But
Yeah.
my question is, does this make the toy maker a pantheon as well?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. It's
Yeah.
And how do we feel about that? I know it's your
Well-
show, Brendan.
No. We've got this in the narrative arc a bit later, actually, Rachel,
Oh, okay.
which is because I want the thread to tell us where I think that this series is going. But yeah, yes, I mean, I feel as though I'm getting the family tree of the toy maker. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
You know, we're going to get the family tree of the Doctor, it sounds like, and we're going to get the family tree of the toy maker. This is a bit like Who Do You Think You Are? Suddenly,
Yeah.
I'm not quite sure if this is really the right genre. But anyway,
Are the Eternals from Enlightenment part of this pantheon?
I wondered that too.
But you see, this is when I get
Headcanon,
bored.
headcanon.
You know, a lot of us have said in the Space Babies and this one, there's no jeopardy. I can't say for Criteria 3 it gets any rating if I'm not scared or engrossed in any way. And because there's no jeopardy, and when you do fantasy and gods, like the Eternals, you've got to be so careful. And it seems to me the toy maker was one of the most evil, powerful creatures, and you threw a ball and you failed to catch it, and that was the end of him. With this one, as you said, the resolution was basically, even though the Beatles in this version weren't very good at music, one of them found the key, and that was it.
Yeah.
You'd think that these
And-
all-powerful beasts would be a bit better at being all-powerful.
And there was something that really bothered me about it, was that Maestro told him how to defeat them.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, that's it then. That's it. We know what's going to happen. And that was about halfway through. And I didn't feel that was good. And I actually feel like the Beatles should have been more involved and perhaps even captured in having the Doctor rescue them rather than what
Yeah.
we saw. And I actually think, and this is the last thing I'll say for this section, the writing about Totter's Yard was really bad.
Yeah, it
I
was
actually
rough,
think it
wasn't
was really bad. And I know some people have said that the way Ncuti played it was bad. The thing about that is this could also be a writing thing or a direction thing here. So whether I feel like it was like written as like something that was a throwaway line and then purposely like lied about to deflect the conversation away from Susan, unless he's going to disregard the whole fact that he actually left Susan on Earth.
Do you know
It
what
should
I
have
was
been
thinking?
it should have been a much more wistfully played.
I think
scene
so. Yeah.
as he's talking about Susan, because then doesn't Rachel Ruby say something like, "Where is she?" You know, well,
Which
if there
is
was a
why
genocide, she might be
which
dead
is-
for all I know.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah,
I'm
which is
going,
why he
whoa,
deflected it.
okay, yeah.
Yeah. So that
No.
that obviously can be writing, it could be an acting choice, it could be all sorts of things going on there. I just
All
don't
of the
know.
above.
So if I
All of the above, yeah.
So if I just kind of zoom us through the last two scores, and then there's a few other items anyway. So Cinnamon, where you are, and then it'll be Sean. Where are you scoring the last one? Which is, were you engaged? Were you happy all the way through, from outstanding down to special measures?
Some really good points there. There's a few I want to address. I have to try and see if I can get through them. I think Gary made a fantastic point about the under the surface of it all. There's a really good idea there that they really could have delved into, but they didn't really focus too much on that. which was the thing about music being sapped from this world, and that, the exploring. And I said earlier, I like that sort of dark, miserable sort of like atmosphere. It was darker than I thought it was going to be. And then Rachael made a fantastic point about, instead of having a couple of minutes wasted on a dance routine, they could have took that time to explain why the Beatles were even there. Because the way I saw it was, and when I watched it, everyone just sort of disappears. Like as soon as sort of Jinkx turns up, everyone else just disappears, and it's just the Doctor, Ruby, and Jinkx or Maestro for a while. And then as soon as the Doctor and Ruby are then trapped inside the musical instruments, there's just, was it John Lennon in the hallway? And then Paul McCartney joins him, and like, oh, what's this piano? Like, I would have thought, and I just thought of it there while Rachael said it, why not have a scene where where John Lennon and Paul McCartney are sort of sat there talking to each other, and they're reflecting about what the Doctor and Ruby said to them, and maybe they go, oh, maybe they're all right. Maybe they were onto something. Maybe there was a breakthrough moment in there. Maybe whether like that, because they already know that in a the subconscious is breaking out, because he talks about crying at night or whatever it was. So they could have had a scene there where John has a realization and says to Paul, do you know what, we need to get in the studio and give it a go. And then that explains why they're in the hallway. I feel like that would have been better served. Again, just on the whole, like I said, was I engaged? Yeah, I mean, it's a bit hard not to be when you've got Jinkx screaming, "It's so sad!" I mean, you could tell it was a blow, couldn't you? I mean, yeah, I think it would have been better if they dialed it down. Because because she kind of ruins it for me, and I think,
So where,
I understand Rachael.
so where would you go
be
with it?
respectful about other actors, but I feel it's nothing personal. It's not a personal attack.
So where would
It's
you?
all
Where would you?
about give back. They feel to give it in your mind. But just obviously to round this off, I
So
would
where
give,
would you?
I think I'd give
Yeah.
it a 6.
Right, because I've got to go fast, otherwise we'll be on for 10 hours. So so okay, thanks for that. And Sean, sorry to be fast on this one.
Yeah. I mean, what again?
Well, if you weren't engaged, I'm guessing you're either special measures or higher to improve.
Yeah, maybe I'm in special measures. It's just boring, but it's like somebody dancing in the middle of a motorway intersection. You're right in the middle of the barriers. You try to drive, you're trying to get on, enjoy yourself, and get where you need to go. And they're just trying to put you off, and it's just not appropriate. It's over the top, and you think, what are you doing? What are you doing in the middle of there? Get out of there. I don't know. I'm losing it with this. I'm like Ian
Right,
Beale.
so-
I've got nothing left.
Okay, well, yeah. So, Gary, have you got a minute or two? Or are you about to depart?
No, yeah, I have about 5 more minutes, but
Okay, then. So I will ask the question that I promised from earlier. Let's start with this one then, which is the Susan twist. We've seen her in what we saw her in Wild Blue Yonder, Church on Ruby Road, and the first 2 episodes of this series. 4 episodes Susan Twist has been in. Has anyone, and this is where I want speculation. We're Doctor Who fans, we've done the critiques, we've slagged off, we've tried our best to actually big it up where we can, but this is classic Doctor Who, which is, who is this character? Is it a twist, as in, she isn't anybody, it's just an intertextual twist. He seems to be getting smart Alec at the moment on this, breaking fourth walls and that. Is this just a wheeze, or do you think it is somebody?
I think that it's intentional. I mean, is this person going to be the one who waits? Maybe. I don't think it's going to be Ruby's mom. Maybe. Because, I mean, clearly it's throughout history, from Isaac Newton all the way to the far future, with the baby. So clearly, if this is an actual person, they're immortal.
Or she's a Jaggeroth, because she could be in all the different time zones.
the only thing I will definitively say is I don't think she's the Ronnie.
Well, and I think most Doctor Who fans don't want anybody from the past. Really, don't really. Sean, what was your theory?
It's gone. Come back to me. Sorry, it's gone. It's gone. Sorry.
Okay,
It was to
Jeremy.
do with what?
Well, okay, well, I'll come back, Jeremy.
She's not a friend of Russell T Davis's by any chance.
Well, that is a distinct possibility.
I have to say, Brendan, if this was a character in David Tennant's first season, I would have been more engaged and wanting to know about her development, etc., etc. I'd be intrigued and interested. Here, right now, I just don't. I'm not interested. I don't care if she's the Rani or the Master or anybody. I am not engaged in
This is the
this
problem
character.
with he people give him plaudits for doing Bad Wolf, those references, which is easy to do, as Hugh will always tell me as one of our panelists. And yet what he's done here is he's got Susan Twist, which is the Bad Wolf element. Then we all think Susan's coming back, so is it a double whammy twist? Then we had the end of this episode where they said there's always a twist at the end. And you just, in the end, you get wrapped up in absolute knots. It's like, can you just deliver a story?
Yes.
Let us do the working out. Actually, sometimes fans fan their own conspiracy theories, and we actually do all the speculation when the writer said, I never planned that. You know, that's the level of it we want. But no, we've got layers upon layers upon layers. Sean, what was your idea? Sorry.
Yeah. No, I've got it. My theory is the twist is no one cares, and no one will be around to care.
That's very meta.
Yeah, exactly.
Well,
I mean,
it fits in. If I could wing
Yes.
it, I would.
The thing
Go on,
is
Jeremy.
that the audience is not engaged in that character because the audience went from, what was it, 2.6 million down to 2.4 million.
Yes.
So obviously, even that element did not keep the
Thank you.
viewers there.
Did you see somebody say that? Oh well, they kept 94% of their audience. I thought, what is that a good thing? Like the fact you've only lost so many. Oh come on.
Well, it's hardly a
The
thing
thing-
to boast about when they put the two back. I mean,
It
The
was
thing
only-
is that Eurovision,
You'd think.
that those two episodes should have rode on the bounce of Eurovision because you've got
I thought,
7
especially
million.
the second one.
and that should have been the link. That should have. So that's the reason why they did it. So we'll get some really good audiences for these episodes, and it didn't work. So what does that
Doctor
tell
Who
you?
under Tennant used to,
Yeah.
Doctor
So
Who
I mean,
in Tennant used to go up against the World Cup and do well. It used to go up against England playing in the World Cup on terrestrial television and still do
So-
like 6, 7, 8 million. This can't scrape it.
So, I mean, Gary sent me earlier. It was a Susan. You found a lady or Sarah, somebody. Had,
Oh no, that was my great friend, starry-eyed girl Sarah Graham,
Sarah,
who sent me because we were joking online about the whole weather thing.
Yeah.
About the reason that nobody watches because it was good weather, I guess. And then I commented yesterday that I guess did the weather turn right before Eurovision and send them all scurrying inside to watch Eurovision. And I forwarded something to Brendan. Sarah sent me an exhaustive list of every new Who episode that aired during so-called good weather with millions more viewers than the ones from last night.
yeah. And there's loads. Vampire of Venice, 7.6 in 2010, May. There's just loads, and it goes on. So if anybody in the thread wants to question it, there's loads. And I know TV's losing its power over time. Yeah, but
Hasn't changed that much though, has it?
That. So, however, all you need is a line of duty. All you need is a program to prove you can still pull them in, and it therefore proves that you are just trying to find excuses.
Look at Mr. Bates
yeah.
against the post office. Everyone was talking about that.
And as
Everyone.
And as Jeremy said, the Devil's Chord was leading into the Eurovision, which got 7.6 million. So you would expect that one got more pickup than actually Space Babies. That's
Yeah.
how the logic
aim in
would
this
work.
show. Yeah, the aim in this show an audience that doesn't exist. That and they show that because they're losing audience, and they're trying to, we're putting it online first, or America, or this, or that. No, you're pointing at an audience that aren't there. You'd think before Eurovision, this big campy episode of Doctor Who with a really, essentially you could have taken Jinkx Monsoon out of Eurovision and plonked her straight into Doctor Who. And him, I don't know. They do the best they can. They do the best they can with what they're given, but they weren't given enough to work with. I thought that it could have been a really creepy kind of, really dark. If that had been played more dark and quieter, it was like you said a while back, Cinnamon, probably about an hour ago but I think we've seen in films and TV that villains have gone from being very quiet. I mean, I'm not a Star Wars person, but most famous example is, is it not Palpatine, whatever his name is, Morph, whatever his name is, who goes, you may fire when ready, dead quiet. In the new ones, screaming. It's like they've lost that. Look at like Khan Noonien Singh from the original and then go to the villains in Star Trek 2009, like fire everything. It's Eric Bana was good to be fair, but it's very much they've lost that. They think that it needs to be bigger. It's like, no, there's nothing more frightening than like somebody whispering something or saying something in a quiet voice to you really nicely, but it's the most chilling thing you've ever heard like that.
Harry, are you
Yeah, no, I do have to jump. It's been wonderful to be with you all. Thank you so much for your indulgence on my rant earlier.
No,
and I actually do want to ask something that Sean just said, brought this up, and I'll just leave it. Would this have been better if they would have ended the actual episode right before the music battle and then do the actual music battle live on stage during Eurovision, so you have that kind of cross thing with Doctor Who going into Eurovision, and then they could have just done the big final dance number.
We might have got
and have it wrap up on Eurovision. That would have been
Don't
great.
give Russell T Davies ideas.
That'll be next year's episode.
Yeah, that'll be it. So obviously,
All right.
yeah. Thank you for your time. Thank you.
Cheers.
I'll see all you guys later.
Bye.
See you
I've
later.
just got one thing to say is they're complaining about the fact that it was good weather and that's the reason why the ratings were low. Well, why didn't they put it on in the autumn and winter then to get the ratings?
There's always that. I have to say, RTD has always gone March to May, June. He has actually done it quite a lot, actually, hasn't he? He's got form on this. I was always shocked in 2005 when we started in March. I thought, what? But he has. I mean, I'm looking at all the figures here. He's always gone March to June, which goes against the Doctor Who vibe. It always does. But I can tell from the thread and I can tell from yourselves that this can't be working then, because I've flashed it up I don't know how many times and you're all going, I've seen the thread going. No, but this is the point.
I don't know.
These are.
I don't know these Susan Twist. I haven't got a clue who Susan Twist is. I keep seeing you put these pictures of, and I don't even. I mean, are they even the same one? They don't even look at the same one. I don't know. One looks older than the other.
Yeah, no. Yeah.
I don't. I feel like I've just learned this for the first time. What's all
okay? Well, if you just. This is the same actress. It's the same actress. I can't say it's the same character. But obviously it's like an Easter egg in itself. Something's going on here that he wants you intrigued by, and Cinnamon, you've not noticed. So, and other people haven't noticed, and
neither have I.
This isn't working.
Neither have I.
This isn't working.
Normally
okay,
I pick up on these sort of things. Like again, is this sort of like it's two different things? Are they desperately needing actors that they're using the same person to play different roles? Or
so let's do another Doctor Who thing then. Guess the narrative arc, because there's loads of clues going on. There's loads of clues. I've listed a whole load here. So, for example, this creature is very wrong. Ruby, as the Maestro said, this creature is very wrong. You had the what's it called? The Son of the Carols. I can't remember the music of the Christmas, that one that we heard on the Church and Ruby Road. I've got the dialogue in a minute. We've got the memory burn and the snowflakes. We've got the mention of the legions and the one who waits is almost here. We've got Mavity. These threads, even in RTD's head, have to come together. Has anyone got any out there theories? So, for example, if anyone watches my stream, I said it a while back now, the pantheon of gods, it's leading to somebody like Sutek. Yeah. So I'm asking, as Doctor Who fans, not to sit on the fence, but to actually say your out there theory. I saw in the thread earlier, Omega, Carol of the Bells. Thanks, Jamie. It was the Carol of the Bells. And I actually saw an interview before the Church on the Ruby Road, and I think it was in the Radio Times, and I think RTD said the Carol of the Bells is going to be quite key. And so when I saw Devil's Chord and she's dangling up there and this Christmas carol's playing, is that just the snowflakes bleeding in because it's Christmas, or is it a bit more than that? Anyway, there's loads of different threads there. Who wants to pick up on the out there theories as a good old diehard Doctor Who fan? Go on, Cinnamon.
I think they're going to do the very, 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 very 2024 thing and do a multiverse. I think we're seeing things bleed into each other. Different universes bleeding into each other. Again, we're seeing memories from Snow and Christmas and Carolyn and that. They're all bleeding into. Like, this isn't just a memory. This is like that was physically happening between they happened in the first one, wasn't it? It was like, why is there snow on a spaceship?
Yeah.
And again,
no, they heard a song. Didn't they hear a song as well?
Suspended in the hall in the big music hall. So I think there's a sort of shift in the realities, a little bit how in what was it in the season 2 finale, where they would press the button on the thing and then quickly in another one, a bit like that. But I think they're going to like bleed into each other. And again, just little change, and that's why we're getting these little changes like Mavity. So that was one change that's happened, so then that's now changing. And then the whole thing about stepping on the butterflies and stuff, again, you've got to ask yourself: is stepping on a butterfly, because that was Earth? That wasn't an alien planet like I discussed. Maybe it might have been. No, that was Earth. Stepping on a butterfly on Earth 10 million years ago, that shouldn't change people, but it did. So that maybe in another universe, a different Ruby has somehow done the same thing, and then it's by some magical connection. I mean, magic in Doctor Who, I know, right? But by some logic, they've connected those two universes together with those two different rubies, with the rubies of the 755 billion, whatever what creature was. So that version of Ruby in that universe and this version of Ruby in our universe are bleeding together. And again, that's what I'm going to go with. Maybe like a bleeding together of different.
There is that element of. There is, was it episode 7, The Legend of Ruby Sunday? And Rachel, you had a theory wondering about whether she dies in this series.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, you go on, you say your theory.
Yeah, I had this theory that she was she was going to die, and then the Doctor would have to save her and something along those lines, and just take her to another planet, universe, whichever, so that she can just continue existing as a legend. That was my theory. Sounds a bit far-fetched, but that's what I was thinking. And I theorized that she was a space baby, but that will never come true.
So we've got PD Rich. I'm coming to Sean now, but we've got PD Rich talking about the real sound 7 hertz and 17 is not the and Ruby is Susan.
Yeah, that's also my theory.
Yeah.
No, sorry. No, that's wrong. Sorry, not Ruby is Susan. Sorry, Susan Twist is Susan. That was my theory. Sorry.
Susan Twist is Susan. Do you not think Caroline Ford's coming back?
Well, I don't know. She might do. But then if there's this alternate universe, Susan might look different.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Like Mavity, like Isaac and all the rest of it.
Yeah, I do reckon though that Cinnamon's got a point. There is very much something alternate, parallel going on here. Definitely, for sure.
I still think that Sledgehammer, that what RTD's like. He sometimes does things without actually planning it at the time, and then he makes it work, which is the clever bit at the end where he goes, why did I do that? And I think that second TARDIS has made us all go into a different place. So I can buy your Caroline Ford isn't in this universe. She will be later on. So we get the Susan and go, oh my God, it's not Caroline Ford. We all go boohoo. We all go mad. He seems to like to trigger fans. And then later on, he'll go, I told you so. There's a twist. Susan is not Susan, but Susan will be Susan later. It's like,
Miami.
Exactly. It's RTD saying, aren't I clever? When actually you're going, you did that on the back of a cigarette packet and you've just bailed yourself out. Sean.
Yeah, I agree. Problem is, if you alienate people and continue to alienate them, they're not going to be there at the end to be like, oh, look at this.
No.
Well, for me, I think to go back, and Cinnamon reminded me of it, this is the crux of the problem. And I promise I'll get to my theory in a minute, of this whole new era all the way through. It's that this is what gets me there. There's some genius ideas in there that would have worked. That thing about the snow and the music, and I'd forgotten about it because of everything else. That was one of the bits where I thought Ncuti played it quite well, to be fair to him. You know, I've never seen anything like this before. And, you know, you think, good God, with Eccleston or Matt Smith or Capaldi or, you know, Tennant, the 10th Doctor, that would have been such an amazing moment. The music would have swelled. They'd have been like, I've never seen this before. And you would have seen that real fear in the Doctor's eyes and be like, oh, this is going to be really interesting. And I do think they're going for kind of I think this is an alternative universe. And I think the fact it's all fantasy and things, I think RTD thinks, oh, yeah, well, I'm going to go dead silly with it. And then I'll like pull the rug from under you and go, oh, aren't I so clever? Aren't I so clever? Like this isn't the old Doctor Who that you know. This is in a different realm, you know. And I think my evidence for that, because I know you love a bit of evidence, Brendan. So my PPE for that one, no PE, my point evidence explanation. My evidence for it is the fact that RTD during the opening sequence, he asked for more sparkles and more electricity and fizz to be given to it, to make it look more different. And that's one of the things that I think he is essentially trying to say to us, yeah, this is Doctor Who. You know, it's Star Trek Jim, but not as we know it type thing.
Yep.
But I also think the problem is you've taken Doctor Who, you know, away so far from what it is that if you try and pull the rug after the end of this series, maybe that's the twist, and then you get back into a more steady, you know, series like next steady universe we recognize. You know, it goes back to being Gravity. You know, we find out who Mrs. Flood is, like we care. And then, you know, you get to that bit, but I think by that point there'll be so few viewers left that, you know, no, I think this is where it goes back to what you were saying about earlier, Rachel, about RTD, and I kept forgetting what to say, but I think that his modern worldview is so at odds with his talent in terms of he seems to be trying to write a show, and I don't know whether this is Disney or just the prevailing winds. He seems to be trying to write a show for the younger generation, for better or for worse, in terms of the TikTok generation.
Trends,
but it comes across, comes across awfully. Yeah, you're right, and it comes across awfully that no, you look exactly what you are. Somebody trying to. I wouldn't try and write something for, you know, that generation. I don't have a clue if I was a writer, but I think you're right in terms of it, and it's just the odds, and it just doesn't. It's like, oh, I'm trying to be so cool.
It seems to me, if you're saying he's writing for the younger generation, there's an element. Remember, he doesn't understand the younger generation, as I said in Space Babies yesterday. But his theory on what these younger generations seem to want, that don't seem to be the ones I taught, is that computer generation where you go to a different screen, and therefore you don't need a cohesive episode. You just need level 5. You grab that little morsel there, then you go to level 6. Oh, there's Susan Twist. She takes me to an alternative universe. I'm level 20. And
it's very game. It's like a game, isn't it? And I forgot my end point was, before I forget, I'm so sorry, but I think it's a good point if I do say so myself. Which is the problem with doing it like this is trying to make Doctor Who like everything else, trying to make it like a Star Wars or a Star Trek or an Avengers multiverse, a Marvel multiverse, or a DC extended universe. One of the strengths, if not the biggest strength of Doctor Who, even amongst science fiction, was that it was unique. It wasn't those things. That's what made it special, and you've killed it by trying to make it something that it never ever was. And the strength was it wasn't like everything else. That was its strength. I'm done.
Well, let me just take it through to Jeremy. Bring Jeremy in. Jeremy, I think the worry I've got with this, whatever clever idea he's got for a narrative arc, whatever clever wheeze he's got, I'm aware that when I read his book about the season 4, that actually the 4 knocks bit that ended up being Bernard Cribbins, he didn't know who would do the 4 knocks. He set that in the plot and he worked it out by the end. I actually liked how it worked out, but he didn't know the ending. And this is the problem. And Sean's mentioned it with the TARDIS opening sequence effect. He asked them, he did say, I want more sparks so that I can get this idea, my sledgehammer thing. You know, he's making it up as he goes along to a degree. Now, I know some writers do start their books, but they don't know the ending. I understand that. You don't always have it pinned down. But my concern, Jeremy, is it's a 2-season arc, quite clearly. And as Sean has said, and Rachel said, and Cinnamon said, it's assuming people will hang around for 2 seasons.
They're not. I mean, but based on 2.6 and 2.4 million ratings on a BBC One transmission, they're not going to stick around,
It's
and they're not
shocking,
going to
isn't
care.
it?
And it's absolutely appalling. And if I was the head of the BBC or head of series and series, I would be getting Russell T Davies in an interview and saying, "We're pulling this," or what will happen is it will just be shown on iPlayer or BBC Three.
But
And I
Jeremy,
think it
you
will
know,
go from BBC One. I'll tell you that.
but you know, Jeremy, the other theory is that they don't need the British audience anymore. They
Well,
actually
if they don't need the British audience anymore, then why put it on BBC One? Just let Disney have it. So we're not going to show it on BBC One.
Oh well, the
Because
BBC
they
is
can't
quite
admit the wrong. They
the,
can't
the
admit the wrong.
BBC. The BBC will be happy with 2 million nowadays. I mean, most EastEnders and Coronation Streets
yeah.
aren't getting much.
But a television company that is getting money guaranteed can produce drivel. I can hold a test card up for half an hour and say, "This is my program, isn't it wonderful?" And Ncuti can hold up a test card in half an hour episode, and they'll say, "Wasn't that wonderful? Russell T Davies has got a fantastic idea. It's brilliant." But you're only getting 2.4 million viewers, and the viewers are
But
deserting in droves.
Yeah, well, we will see the ratings when they've compiled the week and on including the streaming, and they're going to say, because I see on Twitter some Doctor Who fans, and I don't understand it, but they'll say they've watched it 15 times, and
They
that'll
probably
count
will.
as 15 numbers, and so the numbers might in the end look half decent. And I can't argue with it because, unfortunately, I can't prove who's been multiple watching and who's actually.
But who is going to watch it
This
at
is the problem with
midnight
it.
for
There's so
2
many
hours?
little intricate, there's so many spins on it. We see, I saw a tweet before saying, like, it was about after a month, about a month after the Star Beast came out, it got about 9 million views, and they tried to chalk that up as some sort of, oh wow, look how good it's doing. Not really, because this is the problem. Maybe it's the word optics, I don't like to use it, but they don't understand it because they say we don't understand it. But the point is, we used to get, like I said, we used to get 9 million, especially in the Tennant era. We would get around that number on just overnights alone. Now we're having to wait nearly a month just to get to that number. So again, doesn't matter how many times they splice it. Oh, TV habits have changed. Well, even if we go by their metric, even if we play by their rules and go by their logic, it still doesn't work. Because if you're going to try and argue to me that waiting 28 days, I mean, why 28 days? Why 4 months? Why not a year? Why not 10 years? Why are we just going to keep we're just going to keep shifting that goalpost? Oh, we'll wait a little bit longer.
If that's all someone's going to argue about,
1 year is not enough. You've got to give it 10 years. 10 years isn't enough. We can't. Rose.
But if that's all someone's going to argue with you about,
you can't wait 10 years. You have to wait until it gets to 20 years until you can have an accurate number on it. It's silly. I mean, come on.
If that's what someone's arguing with you about, then that's the big thing now. Like, you look at the discourse between the Doctor Who channels, online, all everyone's talking about is views this, views that. No one's talking about quality. We're saying there's no quality there, and you don't get an argument back about, oh no, you're missing the point.
BBC won't care because the BBC is paid by taxes anyway, so it doesn't matter to them. But Disney need the money. So I know people. I think we had Michelle on yesterday, and she said, the views talking about it. I think they do for Disney because they're the ones paying the bills, really. And if they're not getting a fair investment on their platform, and if they're not happy with it, then they might want to plug the plug. BBC can get
It's in the top 4. Remember,
they've got guaranteed money.
Remember, it's in the top 4 for Disney, so therefore I'm judging on that one.
It's the Nielsen's ratings though, and I didn't know until I listened to another channel that this is a bit thing-mead. So they don't go off separate. That's why Disney dropped 2 episodes at once, because it inflates it and makes it look so like if they just put one out. So like everything's, it's a game, and it's how opaque it is. If your show's good, you don't have to run out there and go,
the BBC,
these people, it's because there's this, because there's that. If the quality should stand for itself.
The BBC have done this for years. For example, Neighbours was shown at 1:30 and it was shown at 5:30 to get double the ratings. They have been doing this for a long time. I agree with what people are saying, that, like Doctor Who was shown streamed, then it was shown in the evening on Saturday, then it was shown on BBC 3 on Sunday, and all that will be added together desperately to compile a half-decent figure. But it goes back to the 80s. I have to say, they did it with Neighbours and they've done it with other stuff. And it's been allowed now because there's a big wheeze going on. The media companies, they've all agreed this because it makes them all look better. Whereas, as I said, on YouTube, the rest of us get one single view. You don't get a double up. And it is the big ones, the big boys, the big girls are looking after themselves, and the rest of us have to scrap around. And isn't it amazing that all these YouTube streams across the world, many of them very popular, are pulling people away from terrestrial TV and even some streaming platforms because they are giving people what they actually want. Unlike big companies like Disney and the BBC who are saying, this is our DEI profile, this is what we are going to give you, this is our propaganda, and if you don't like it, we've fiddled the figures and tough and go and touch grass.
Because what's in it for us? This is the thing. This is why I think people are going more to YouTube, more to podcasts, independent ones, I hope. Well, no, I don't. I mean, like, obviously, like, I listen to businessy ones. It doesn't matter. Podcasts in general. Yeah, sorry. It's because, like, there's nothing in it for you. There's nothing in it for you. Like, on one hand, none of us here want to say something, and I'm sure we wouldn't. That would get us in bother, or that would, get us in issue with work or anything. Like that. That aside, and that's just being a good human being. We genuinely, like, there's nothing in this for us. There's nothing in it for us. There's nothing in it for me to say I didn't. Like, if I'd have watched those 2 episodes and I'd have loved them, and I was gutted to miss your stream on Sunday I couldn't make, because I actually quite liked that, and I would have been much more balanced on that one, because I actually thought there was a glimmer of hope. Stupid me. Like, this is the thing, there's nothing in it for us. Like, we literally, we come on, we like talking about Doctor Who, clearly. I argued this before, not argued it, but I made this point before, that, like, this is because people care about something. The whole toxic thing, get rid of that word, like, in terms of fans, because if we're passionate about something, we talk about it. If we didn't care about Doctor Who, we wouldn't waste our Monday night talking about it.
Sean, isn't this the problem? PD Rich, hiya PD, thanks for joining us. I know you look after the channels and everything, but PD Rich is saying quite rightly here, nobody would criticise Ncuti, in this case, the 15th Doctor, if he wasn't shooting his mouth off in the media. Nobody would be necessarily as angry with RTD if he wasn't telling us that it's not for us anymore and we need to get rid of his version of representation. The trouble is, you've got the breaking the fourth wall, you've got fantasy twaddle, you've got this double banking down of episodes to hide one almost, you've got the fiddling of figures to make things look better than they really are, and then they tell the real fans who were there in the wilderness years, the real fans who buy the merchandise, they're telling us to clear off.
Yeah.
Ncuti just done an interview there where he's talking about. Again, it's like I said earlier, it's contradictory that it's being pulled apart. You've brought us back because of Russell, because of Dave Tennant, and then you tell us to go away. Ncuti's just done an interview, and again, Ncuti, I love you, mate, but you don't have to talk some nonsense. He's come out and he's basically said, "Oh, to all the people who was, it's long time fans." He said, I'm paraphrasing, I don't know exactly word for word, but he said, to all the long time fans who are leaving because of you have an issue or something about a person's race or something like that. He said, "Oh, it's sad for them." Mate, we're not people, not me, but people aren't walking away because you're black. I mean, and if they are, then they probably are racist. But people are walking away because of what you stand for, because of what you're turning the show into. Again, I watched a really, really great video about this, and I thought he made some fantastic points that I hadn't even considered. The show's got an audience. Typically, Doctor Who, again, for the average audience, for the average point of it, it was to get a family audience. But the show has garnered over the years to become a massive franchise in the pop culture scape, up there with Star Trek, the Star Wars. Maybe not as big as those, I will say, because Star Trek is a massive American thing. It's got a lot of backing behind that. Lower thing, and typically nerds, geeks. That's what we are. That's what we're attracted to. That's what I grew up watching superhero movies, the comics, and stuff. You could see it behind me, all the stuff I've got. That's what attracted me to the show, because that's what kind of person I was. I didn't need the show to expand its audience. The show will have its audience. If people like it, they like it, and that's what it was. But now they're deliberately trying to get more views. Now they're going out their way because they want more. Now they're being greedy about it, and now they're changing the show to get that wider audience. But in doing so, you lose the audience that you did have. And again, we've seen it
think-
before.
But why
in the
would you
video that I
ignore
watched,
people like-
he mentioned a show. I don't know what the show is called, but he said there's a show. Again, we've seen it with In Between. It went over to America. It bombed, and then he said another show. I can't remember, but he said it had the exact same script as the British version, and it was like half of it wasn't even filmed. It failed, and it was the same script. So ideally, you would think, what's the same script, same words, same thing, isn't it? No, because the two cultures are different. There's a difference when you have Americans say,
What I-
and not just because of accents.
What I-
It's the
what I'm
difference
gonna-
between it gets lost in translation because the views and the morals are different now between these people. Russell and David, they're just different people to what they were 20 years ago.
Cinnamon, I need to just pull it in there. What we've got to say here is, I mean, and I've got Thomas Baker saying they're not caught up in the drama, but do you think Ncuti and RTD are really just going on about the toxic people and the racists? The thing is,
If you were, you wouldn't watch in the first place. I'm sorry, I know I don't get into politics, but if you are an out-and-out racist, you're not going to watch an episode of Ncuti Gatwa playing the Doctor. I'm sorry, end of story. Why would you put it on?
Yeah.
If your mind's as twisted and sick as that, you wouldn't watch it.
I think,
I'm sorry,
I think,
it's illogical.
I think what's happening here, and I'm not excusing them, but I'm trying to kind of work out the kind of media kind of blob going on, is that when Jodie Whittaker was picked as the first female Doctor, there was a lot of, and me, I didn't want a female Doctor because I thought it broke the canon. And so therefore, I think they had us down as misogynists and sexist. And now what they've done is now there's a black Doctor and we are criticising the Chibnall years and we don't like how RTD has set this up. It's because we're racist. Nah, you've conflated two different
They see
issues.
it all as one
Yeah.
thing. You
No,
see
no,
it with
Thomas,
certain
you-
YouTubers out there. I want to say his name because I want to degrade this channel by uttering his name. But again, and his routine for saying, "Oh, you conservatives," he charts it all in one box, which is stupid because you don't have to be a conservative or right wing to have an issue with what's going on. There's plenty of people who I know are fairly left or even in the middle who don't like it. I mean, I'm neither really at this point. Maybe there was a point where in my life where I might have aligned one way, but I don't anymore because they're all idiots anyway. But again,
to be fair, sorry.
But
Sorry,
the
son,
20
I was just,
years, again, it's 20 years, since these episodes come out, or since it came back in 2005. And I was going to say earlier, David and Russell, they're different people now. Now they want to be seen, or especially David, he wants to be seen to be on the right side. He wants to be seen doing the right thing. And I think he's a good bloke. He wants to be. I mean, don't we all want to be seen to doing the right thing? But I think he's been misguided. And it's funny because maybe in another 20 years, I mean, I know they're getting on a bit, but maybe in another 15 years, maybe when, 20 years, when the culture changes again, they'll probably come out and say, "Oh, they never believed any of the stuff that they believe now. Oh, they were misguided. Oh, now they know, and now they're benefited by the new knowledge of the future." It's just silly. It's
all a producer has to do is just to make a good television program, and that's
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
That's it. It's
I
not rocket
think-
science. They're just projecting themselves to say, "These are my views on this, and these are my views on this." Don't use Doctor Who as a social platform. Go on YouTube and create your own program with a social platform.
If you are going to,
stop using our
do
show as a
it
battleground.
cleverly.
Simple as that.
I mean, yeah,
If you've got a problem with that,
I mean, I just, I mean, someone in the comments, Thomas saying I'm annoyed. Not in the slightest. This is passion. This isn't me kicking off, getting angry. It's frustration more than anything. Like I don't understand why it's been termed this way. I don't understand how you think you can bring everybody together, everybody of every ilk, whatever you want, however many boxes you want to, or however many people you're, everybody, every single body. If you want to bring everybody in, why you would do this, why you would bring it down this line. I purposefully in my podcast stay out of politics completely because it's just not worth the effort. For me, it's you've got to. We take people on their own merits. 99.9% of people, we take people on their own merits. I don't care. Like, I don't know. We're all the classic Doctors straight. Don't know. Don't care. Like, I don't. It's not relevant to me. Like, I watch one of my favorite. And I met him at a Comic-Con. John Barrowman, amazing. I love Captain Jack Harkness, but very different to me in most ways. You still look at all of us. We're all different. But anyway, so it's not about that, it's about we're looking at a TV show here. Let's not get above ourselves.
And I'm aware this is our Devil's Chord review. This is our deep dive, and we've pored over it, and it looks as though from the judgment of this panel, yesterday's Space Babies got around, I think it was a needed improvement, and this one is borderline. I'm going to have to do the numbers.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, what I've just said.
Needs
But yeah,
improvement.
okay, mate. You know, you're entitled to your
No,
opinion.
no,
Everybody, that's
no,
absolutely
no, no,
sound.
no, you're not listening to me. I'm actually explaining.
Oh, not you. Sorry, I was talking to the chat. Sorry, Brendan, I was talking to the chat.
Well,
Sorry.
let me just speak on the channel. What I'm trying to say is the panel voted. I'm not an autocrat, and that was the judgment of the panel. And of course, today it looks as though it's more skewed towards needs improvement to special measures. I reflect that. We did one, I think it was Rose, or we did the 11th hour, and I was out of kilter with my own panel, so I did reflect in my thumbnail the next day the judgment of the panel and not myself. So all I'm saying is this has scored worse than Space Babies, and I can add it up later, and my thumbnail will show it when we advertise this. But thank you for your time. It's been a long one, and I don't want to. It's interesting, but I don't want to drift too far off when we've done Devil's Chord, and you all need some rest, because the BBC was so clever, weren't they, that they thought, oh, we'll double the episodes up. So every stream that worth their salt who wants to do Doctor Who suddenly had a awful situation, which is to double up. I'm looking forward to next week when there's one, and it's written by somebody called Stephen Moffat.
Yeah.
Can't wait.
I know, I can't wait. So everybody, thanks for your time. And Rachel knows what's coming.
Yeah.
Good night, everybody.
Night.
I need to be cheered up.
Tune in next week.
Where what?
Oh, the best.
Stop!
Right, let's just bring on the